Hi Scorpio! So welcome to your reading. This is what your Akashic Records want to tell you, Scorpio, in 2021. So just before we start, just so you know how these work, they're relevant for your sun, moon or rising sign, and they're also relevant anytime in 2021. So you might find you come back 6 months later and you choose a different pile and that's got a really relevant message to you. This is completely how I've programmed them to work within the Akashic Records, so just know that's something you can do. The other thing you can do as a wild card, because I friggin' always love wild cards, is if you trust your intuition enough, you can come to any of these Akashic Records and just ask your intuition where is the answer that you most need to hear. You might get something like Cancer, pile number, message number 3, and you might have nothing really significant in your astrology charts to do with Cancer, but you just go to that reading and you realise it's got exactly what you need to hear. Because basically I have channeled so many messages through 2021, and this is also a way that my guides have told me these readings can be used. And then finally, also remember that you do also have, as well as your natal chart, you have your solar return chart and you have your progress chart. These are both really important, and so you might actually find that in one of those other charts that you actually have a different sun, moon and rising sign, and you might find that that reading's really useful for you too in 2021. So essentially this is a kaleidoscope of different ways you can use these readings. Cool. So just before we go any further, I just want to just quickly go through a tiny bit of astrology, just the main significant things that popped out. So Scorpio, as soon as when I looked into your records, I just was like, wow, okay. So much is going to go on for you guys to do with psychological breakthroughs, and I do believe you'll have some really big psychological breakthroughs. The reason why I'm saying this is because you actually have Saturn and Jupiter in your 4th house, and this is this really important conjunction that happened at the end of 2020, and the 4th house, although it's home, it's roots, it's heritage, it's all of these things, it's also a place to do with emotional fulfillment. So emotional fulfillment is going to be a really big thing that comes up for you. But also I always think this is the house of the deepest roots of your inner psychology, even more than the 8th house, but it's kind of buried away. But it's essentially the psychology that keeps you stable and grounded, and it's very much linked into emotional fulfillment. That's the big part about it. So I feel like this is going to really go through a really big, I'm hearing the word restructuring, and that you're really going to become aware of many of the things that are really important to you that maybe you didn't realize were so important to you. So just be mindful about that. This then also leads me into the fact that you also have the North Node in your 8th house. So you probably know, some of you guys, that you rule the 8th house. Scorpio rules the 8th house. This is also about a psychological transformation, death and rebirths, inheritance. It's inheritance way more than money. It's almost on a cellular DNA level as well. So the emotions that we inherit, the memories we inherit, the belief systems, etc. And I do really feel like, because the North Node is there and it's in the sign of Gemini, and you also have Pluto in your 3rd house that rules Gemini, so there's this real kind of like, I would say, there's a beautiful energy going off between how you're going to be communicating and any deep transformations that you're going to go through, or how you're going to be communicating to do with any of your lineage, your ancestors, your family background, and also anything to do with how you're going to be communicating to do with what are your deepest like wanted desires. And I feel like you're going to find a way so that you can start expressing even more vulnerability to do with all deeply intimate issues, whether that is around money, around sex, around connection, deeply bonded intimate connection, soul level connections, twin flame connections. That this is the sort of energy that's coming through. But the big key part of all of this is totally about how you communicate. And I'm going to put this in straight away. There's this really good book called Conscious Loving, and I think it's by Gary something. Honestly guys, totally read it if you feel called to, because there's going to be this epic thing. I cannot emphasize it enough how important communicating is to do with all of these deeply intimate, vulnerable, but also very passionate kind of things in your life is going to be coming up. So you might also find as well that it'll be a steep learning curve, is what I'm hearing as well, about this kind of communication. but anyway, we'll see what comes out on your Akashic Records to do with that, but I just know that this is highly, highly significant. So anything you can do as well about learning about communication, whether it's about negotiating, whether it is about... it's making me think of this book, Never Split the Difference by Chris something. That's another book about communicating, but this is very much about then negotiating. I don't know, there's lots of different things to do with that. And actually, if you're into the masterclasses, because I love them, I know there's quite a few on communication, but in different areas. So you might not necessarily recognise they're to do with communication at first, but actually once you listen to them, you find out they are. And in fact, there's one recently they've put on, something to do with communication to do with sex, and what it is that you want and don't want, and all the rest of it to do with sex. That is completely this energy that I can feel, because it's really about these like deeply vulnerable, sometimes topics that a lot of society might think are taboo. These are areas that you're going to be going into and finding a totally new way of how to communicate about them. And it's going to be awesome. It's going to soften your energy field. It's going to expand your energy field. And it's going to bring much more powerful and deeply connected relationships and people and situations to you, which ultimately I know a lot of you Scorpios will totally crave that. And anybody obviously that's got strong Scorpio in their birth chart, it's like really, really important to have these like deeply intimate and connected bonding with the people that you bring close into your life. So I think that's really exciting, and I think that's something really, really cool. And now the other thing just to be mindful of, and I do want to say, so much came out when I was just thinking about your astrology. I don't know why so much is coming out for you guys, Scorpio, but it is. But anyway, Mars is also sort of a co-ruler of you with Pluto. And Mars is actually really significant all year in 2021. You might have found the last 6 months of 2020, lots kind of came on. And I think it could have been quite frustrating for a lot of you, because Mars was retrograde for a huge amount of time in its own sign of Aries. And I think that you Scorpios will have also really felt this, definitely very much on this internal level. But what will happen definitely in January and all of February, there's going to be this thing again about, it's already going to start triggering you so early in the year to do with how you communicate what it is that you really want. What do you really want? And also communicating your value to others, and recognizing the value in others as well. There's so much this kind of energy going off, because Mars will be in Taurus for the 1st January and February, first 2 months. And I just know that this is significant for you. So just pay attention to see what kind of comes up. And definitely it will be around money, resources, self-worth, value, what you don't, what you want to build on, and almost like accumulate, what you want to accumulate, and how you want to grow that and expand that. I think that's really going to be coming up. But like I say, Mars will really be important really all year for you. So I feel like this could be a really active year in many different ways. So maybe see where you've got Mars in your own chart, because that will tell you a little bit more. But definitely the first 2 months of the year, it's really, really powerful. And I think you'll have quite a few breakthroughs. That then just quickly leads me on to Venus. At the end of the year in December, Venus is going to go retrograde, and it goes retrograde in Capricorn. But the reason why I think this is really important for you guys is because it will conjunct your planet Pluto twice in December, around about the last few degrees of Capricorn. And what I just want to say is this is really oh God, I can't even get these words out. This is really guys, by the way, I think that's also something that might happen to you a little bit in 2021 when you start to communicate these deeper desires and talk about these deeper taboo subjects. But anyway, so stick with it. If you find you're losing your words a little bit, just know it's all part of the process. Anyway, sorry, back onto Venus retrograde in December. So it's going to conjunct your planet Pluto, and this really is going to be, I think it's going to be a conclusion of something massive to do with your, I would say, intimate relationships again, but also your intimate desires. So that could even be something to do with a job, money, career, a house, a health goal. Because it will be a different desire for all of you, but it's definitely about there'll be a conclusion about a huge longing that you've actually had over 2018, 2019 and 2020, because it's the way because Venus will be retracking over these areas that happened in 2018, 2019 and 2020. So also watch out for that, but also know the more, this is how I feel you can really leverage this, the more that you work on communication to do with what it is you really want and vulnerabilities, and also the communicating the beauty within the vulnerabilities and what it is you really want, the more this is going to put you in an incredible position by the end of the year. And this is potentially when everything then starts to I want to say like explode into a whole new kind of reality for you. So whatever happens in 2021, stick with it, because the ending is really, really important for you guys, but it is a process, and totally have a look at communication. Then just very, very briefly, just be careful to do with any fickleness. I really got this word fickleness coming through as well, to do with dating and creative projects and any children that you might have, anything like that. I don't know, just be really mindful with that, because Neptune's in your fifth house, and I just feel like if you're a bit unsure about your desires, somehow that's going to reflect in some kind of fickleness to do those areas. So the more, again, clear you can get about your desires and what you want, the more that fickleness will turn into something deeply spiritual, because that can also be Neptune. And very deeply spiritual, to do with maybe meeting somebody with dating, or something to do with any children you might have, or any children that are coming, and also anything to do with creative projects. So just be mindful with that as well. Again, so much comes on about what it is you really want and going for that. And then just the last thing I wanted to say is Uranus. It's going to be, let me just check which house is it in. Yeah, Uranus is in your 7th house of one-on-one connections again. So it's putting this emphasis on a kind of relating, and again, this is where I think communication will be really important on your one-to-one levels, but it's also going to be putting a lot of tension on your ascendant. So whatever your ascendant is, just know that that part of you, how you put yourself out in the world, and also how you see yourself in the world, that's really going to be going through sometimes some radical breakthroughs. But I feel like what might happen is nothing to do with that area of your life, and then suddenly a radical breakthrough, then nothing to do with that area of your life, and then suddenly a radical breakthrough. So those are the kind of things that are really, really popping out big time. And I do feel like so much is going to go on for you guys, because actually, of all of the signs so far, you're the one where I kind of got the most instant downloads. Even when I started to think about your astrology, it was just like bam, 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 bam. So I also feel like things will move quick for you, or you'll get awarenesses that come in very, very quickly. And I would just say try and go with the momentum of that, because there will be some time periods when it's not so active. So make sure that you're basically ready. And I'm almost seeing the vision of somebody getting ready for a track race at the Olympics. You know how they set themselves up in those, whatever they are, I don't know the technical word, but you know, those feet things for like the runners, and then they get themselves in the perfect position so that they can go as soon as the gun goes. And I'm really getting that kind of energy as well for you guys. So like preparation is key. And I'm also hearing chance favors the prepared mind for you guys. And communication. But anyway, you see, I feel like I was already starting to channel for you guys before we're fully getting in. That's what I mean about this energy. It's super creative, and it's very, very open. So I kind of feel like that's going to really translate in your life too. Anyway, first of all, I've done this for all of the other piles. We're just going to shuffle and see what is the one card that is relevant to all of you guys. Also, sorry if I was chatting a bit fast then. I feel like everything's speeded up for a moment. So, right, let's see. Let's see overall energy for Scorpio 2021. Let's have a look. Oh, nice. Okay, so we have 6 of Cups. Okay, so many of you will probably know this is energy of kind of Okay, it's many things. It's like soulmates, it's like deep connections. Obviously, we've chatted about that a lot, so this is just really confirming that. It's also about things coming back from your past in, I always think, like a really healthy way. So I think this will be, if there's been any feuds or things that have ended disharmoniously in the past, you might find that some of those come back into your life, and it could potentially lead to a really harmonious outcome. I think as well, this definitely for me is saying things about reflection. It's important to be reflecting, and also I'm hearing these really strong words that any real success that you get in 2021, remember where you came from, remember what's got you to this place, remember what you've done to get here, remember who's helped you and supported you to get here. There's this real kind of like acknowledgement of the bigger picture and the greater whole, definitely to do with the people and connections that have helped sculpt you to become the person that you are. And I'm also hearing that even means relationships that have been testing and challenging. It's definitely, you'll start to really see how these have all had this really powerful, potent effect on you, and the success that's coming through to your life. But as well, I definitely feel, just even with this image, there's so many, it feels like there's lots of different opportunities for growth in lots of different areas of your life. And I'm also getting that this will be something that can happen very much on a day-to-day level. So you'll be really quite surprised that maybe that you can have so many changes over a couple of days, or I don't know, that you might feel like there's lots of choices that kind of come in, that kind of energy. But it does feel, it feels super supportive. And to be honest, the major thing I really feel with this is like what we're kind of saying about your astrology. So with the Six of Cups, it's totally about relationships, but it's about those relationships where we have history, and that can be soul history, it can be history in this lifetime, other lifetimes, or it can be history that's about to be written in the future to do with this connection or these connections. And I also do feel like this is potentially more than one connection, as in it might be that you start to feel more deeply bonded to a family member at the same time as you start to feel a romantic partner comes into your life. Or if you're already in a relationship, you might feel more deeply bonded in that relationship, and then maybe you start to feel more deeply bonded to somebody that you work with, or a business partner. There's that kind of thing, and it does feel highly, highly supportive. And I also just feel like there's going to be lots of interaction with people in your life, and that again to me is saying about this communication type of energy. But let us now just get the piles up so you can intuitively feel what is what for you. So we have 3 piles. Okay, so just feel into what is right for you. This is message number 1. And this is the crystal. I really like this, it's a nice bluey glass colour. Okay. We'll channel the crystals in the extended readings, but definitely still feel which is for you. This is message number 2. And this is the crystal. This is message number 3. And this is the crystal. Okay, so intuitively feel into which one it is for you, and then we'll go straight over to pile number 1. So hey there, so welcome to your reading. This is message number 1 for Scorpio, your Akashic Records. So we will go into the crystal in the extended, so I'll just put it to the side. And first of all, we'll channel into your stone. So what do your Akashic Records want to tell you? Message number 1, Scorpio. Okay, the first things that I'm really hearing is keeping your feet on the ground. And I'm actually seeing a whirlwind kind of... I'm actually seeing multiple different whirlwinds going off. And this is also letting me know that I feel like there's something about the way that you're going to be thinking. It's going to be speeding up as you're going to be adapting to this new energy that's coming in, this whole air cycle energy. And I think it's just going to take a little bit of adjusting. So it's just really important that you give yourself time with many different things that come up in 2021. So there is no need to rush and make decisions or make instant choices. I feel like quite often situations will come up and it will feel like you need to make an immediate choice. But I'm actually hearing that for you guys, it really is about slowing down first before you make the choice. Because it's just going to allow you to... It's just going to allow you to be in the best position to make the choice. So if you rush to make the choice, or you go with the choice instantly, I'm hearing that sometimes you might trip yourself up slightly. So even though it might feel counterintuitive to the situation, even just giving yourself 24 hours before making a choice, or even longer, even just 24 hours is just going to be powerful. And particularly I'm hearing this to do with communication, to do with relationships. Rather than communicating instantly off the back of somebody saying something to you or a message or email coming to you, give it 24 hours, just give it a bit of time just to let it settle, let you get clear. And also, particularly if there's anything particularly intense or emotions are high to do with some kind of communication, spoken, written, email, whatever it might be, just also know this concept that, and you guys can probably feel this, if somebody sends you a communication which makes you feel intense, that also might be because they felt intense when they sent you the communication. And it's almost like if you can just allow that energy to just discharge into the ground, by the time you reconnect with that person and communicate with them, you'll probably find the whole situation is a little bit less charged, and that'll be really, really powerful. So I'm really, really getting that. And that might even be a case of, if it's an email, you don't even open the email straight away. If you can feel like, I'm sure you guys can get this because I can get this. I can sometimes get a message come through and I'll be like, oh my God, that's intense. I've not even opened it yet. So it's taken me a very long time. But now what I will do is I'll just wait, maybe wait a day, maybe wait half a day. I'll just listen to myself. And then when I feel like I'm going to go and open that email and I don't feel that same intensity, I know that the energy is discharged, and then I'm in a much better place to communicate. And I also know that the person that sent it is now also in a much better place to communicate. So I definitely think it's definitely this exploring with your communication. What else are we also getting? Also, in the same way, if at some points you end up feeling frustrated with yourself, because, I don't know, we all sometimes get frustrated at some point during a year, it's totally normal. It's also about, as well, trying to do something different. And I'm going to use this word that might not sound positive for some of you guys, but actually distract yourself with something, just again to let that intense energy just kind of discharge within you before you re-engage with that topic or that thought or whatever it might be. And actually sometimes distraction, I know it's not always talked about in a healthy, positive way, but it can actually be a really powerful tool if you use it mindfully. And that's a situation where it's going to be really powerful for you, just to kind of disengage with whatever is intense, to then re-engage with it when everything feels more calmer, more still. Because then I'm also getting that this is going to allow you to have a lot more psychological breakthroughs, because we already talked in the astrology, there'll be lots of these psychological breakthroughs for you. But in order to get the most out of them, if you're immediately reacting to everything instantly, it doesn't kind of give the space for your spirit guides, your higher self or whatever, to start communicating messages to you, which then help to influence your decisions, choices and intentions in a life-enhancing way. Bearing in mind, if you can't hear your spirit guides or your higher self, honestly, it doesn't really matter, because they're still completely communicating to your unconscious mind, and that your unconscious mind filters messages through to your subconscious and therefore conscious. But bearing in mind, even when you're really psychic, that isn't always going to be instantaneous. So having a bit of a space is actually a really, really powerful thing. And I can feel like the more of you that can do that whole kind of thing of just holding and pausing before engaging with intense energy, either within you or outside of you, the more that you're going to get to this really good position that we talked about in the beginning, at the end of December with the Venus retrograde. So just see yourself as, be kind to yourself, because this is a training process. And like I say, the more that you can research about this kind of thing or understand about communication, I just know this is going to accelerate your self-growth and therefore accelerate whatever it is that you're working on that you want to be in your life, or however that might be. I'm also just quickly getting as well, creative visualization is really good for this pile. So to do with whatever it is that you want to create, whatever is your desire, using a kind of meditation that's called creative visualization, you can Google that if you don't know what it is, will be really, really powerful. And you guys only need to do it really short. I'm getting like even 5-10 minutes a day, that's it. Or even just 3 minutes when you're on a tube or whatever you might be doing, because you guys have that intensity and you have that real lock-in with visceral feeling, and it's the visceral feeling that will really help you guys manifest what you want. Again, this is why it's really important to be mindful of how you're feeling internally. And, you know, when you're feeling intense, realizing it's good to just disengage for a bit to then re-engage again when the intensity has dispelled a bit. Oh, okay, cool. Let us take some cards now. Let's see. So what do your Akashic Records want to tell you? Message 1. Okay, let's see. How's this spread going? Oh, interesting. It's interesting because I've often been given spreads that are already quite different. And obviously, I think we all know, right, spreads talk, even just the layout. So we have got quite a lot of cards as well. Okay, so let's see. So we have 4 of Wands, oh wow, we have 2 of Cups. I'm telling you guys, there is this real focus of energy on relationship, 100%. And then we have 4 of Cups. Then we have Page of Swords. Then we have the Devil. Wow, no way. Then we have the 6 of Cups again. And in the center, okay, we have Strength. I love these cards. I think they're amazing. Okay, so pretty much, to be honest, the messages are coming in thick and fast already. So let's go. So, okay, guys, if you chose message number 1, totally right now, whenever you listen to this, your Akashic Records really wants you to be super mindful about what's going off in your relationships, and also be super mindful about what it is that you are unconsciously as well as consciously manifesting to do with your relationships. I'm also really getting this energy as well, that you need to be mindful that you don't get, these 3 cards all here to me are really kind of saying to me, just be really careful that you don't get stuck in difficult patterns. And you know what, I hate this word, but I'm going to say it because it's coming out of your records. Definitely be careful about getting stuck in narcissistic patterns, both internally with yourself as well as externally with other people. When I say narcissistic patterns as well, bearing in mind that we will all have narcissistic patterns about certain stuff, definitely when we're getting challenged and we're getting pushed to kind of open up and be vulnerable, because sometimes it becomes so much easier to put ourselves first, either in how we're communicating or what we're doing or whatever it might be, and disregard the other person, because wherever we feel insecure, there'll be obviously an unconscious desire to protect that insecurity, and sometimes that can therefore unconsciously lead to narcissistic behaviour. Bearing in mind as well, if this isn't you being narcissistic, which obviously for a lot of you I don't feel like it will be at all, just almost be aware that this is why another person might be being narcissistic. Not at all that they are a narcissist, but just because they have an insecurity to do with whatever is going on between you, and it's triggering their insecurity, and that insecurity is unconsciously trying to almost put up a warning sign to almost back off from their insecurity, and that can come out as a narcissistic behavior pattern in some kind of way. So one of the things that could be really powerful is if you feel this happening to yourself or somebody else or whatever it might be, is this is when I can really see this strength energy coming in, and this is really saying to me that this is about you really understanding the psychological depth of why somebody is behaving that way or why you are behaving that way. Now, let me just say this as well. Your Akashic Records are not saying justify how they're behaving if they're being narcissistic, or justify how you're behaving if you're being narcissistic. But what they are saying is just understand what's actually got somebody there. And if you can understand the insecurity, you can then work out the best way to communicate to that person or to yourself without triggering that insecurity. And if you get really, really good at communicating, you'll understand how you can not only make sure that you don't bring up this insecurity, but rather than avoiding talking about the insecurity or brushing over that insecurity, there might be a way where you can have a deeply intimate communication and conversation with this person or with yourself about this insecurity in a way that helps to bring more peace and harmony to them, to you, and to your relationship. And that's what I really, really see as the highest potential for you guys to do with that kind of setup. Now, bearing in mind, I don't really know why the word narcissistic came out, but it just did when I saw the devil. But also remember, this could even be anything as well, like codependency. I do think codependency is, I really don't know why. I don't know why, but there seems to be so much codependency on planet Earth at the moment. I guess it's probably because it's the way that we've all been grown to be reliant on something outside of us, whether it's an education, whether it's school, whether it's university, whether it's the government, whether it is the church, I don't know, but we seem to have really been bred to be highly codependent. But that's completely and utterly a pattern that will be coming to an end with this new Aquarius cycle, what we're going into, the 20-year cycle, and a 200-year cycle, and probably even longer than that, to be fair. So yeah, just be mindful of anything as well to do with that. And actually, to be honest with you, as a psychic, I can feel we all have codependency issues in some area of our life. So just when I say that, see what intuitively flags up to you. Where do you currently have some kind of codependency to do with something that you are collaborating with in your life? It could be a relationship, like I say, it could be more of an institution. And the thing is, it's not necessarily about you therefore having to remove that institution or that person from your life, but like I say, it's understanding what's going on psychologically, and finding a way that you can have a breakthrough to do with that. And like you say again, I do really, really feel that this is very much as well going to be about how you are communicating to yourself or another person to do with it. Because as well, right in between the Two of Cups and the Six of Cups, we have the Page of Swords. The Page of Swords, as we all know, is all about messages, and it's about communication. It's completely, of all of the court cards, I think the pages are definitely about communication because they come with messages. And so definitely pay attention to that. And I would say, obviously we are in the digital world, more than likely it's going to be something that is through a digital type of conversation. However, for Scorpio, you guys, it will be so much more powerful if you can have this communication person to person. And if the best that you can do is through the telephone or the mobile phone, I sound really old when I say telephone. If the way that you can do it is by a mobile phone, then do it. And not some voice notes, because there's never anywhere near as much intimacy and connection when you do a text, when you do an email, when you do a voice note. Obviously, Skyping is obviously better than nothing, as is, talking over the phone. But really, if you can, in person is where you can have the real powerful, potent connection, because it requires somebody to be that much more vulnerable, because you are literally, there's nothing between you. You're literally face to face. And there's something very powerful about that. So your Akashic Records are definitely encouraging you, if it is possible, and obviously I know it depends, then definitely having these deeply powerful, intimate, bonding conversations is through being in person with somebody, one-on-one. Because also you can't easily just disappear out of a conversation as well, you know, when you're face to face. Whereas, you know, if you're texting or whatever it might be, or there's always a way that you can, it's a distraction to some extent from real intimacy. But obviously I'm also hearing that this is just the way of this modern world, and it will become more and more challenging in some instances to be able to have these kind of face-to-face vulnerable conversations. But what I'm really hearing is, if you want this, the universe will help you make it happen, because this really is the way that you're going to massively grow. The other thing your Akashic Records are saying is that, you know, being compassionate to yourself with this too, because it's a process, and you might find, in order for you to get to a place of more vulnerability with conversations and communications, you know, it might be a step by step. So first of all, you open up a little bit more over text or email, and then you maybe open up a little bit more and you go onto Skype or whatever, and then you open up even a little bit more, and then you try and find some actual time to meet up physically. So you don't have to just go from zero to hero. In fact, actually, I'm hearing that it won't be helpful for you, because as we channeled in the beginning about keeping your feet on the ground with lots of whirlwinds, the more that you can pace this, and pace opening up, and pace going into vulnerable spaces and conversations in your relationships, the more that the more that they will grow, basically, because you don't want to overstep a mark either with yourself or with somebody else, and it causes either yourself or somebody else to kind of retreat a bit and shut down, because then it's almost like 3 steps forward, 5 steps back. Sometimes it's better just to do 1 step forward, 0 steps back, and just move things that bit slower. But I suppose if you can really understand the bigger picture of ideally where you would like a connection or relationship to go, or, you know, bearing in mind as well, this could be anything. This could be to do with a business arrangement as well. It could be to do with a business project. It could be a project where you're actually having to try and win over the client or whatever it might be. You know, all of what I'm saying is you can apply it to that, because this is the energy that the universe wants you to work with. And in fact, really, it is about these shared resources. And obviously shared resources is the 8th house. It's your theme, Scorpio. And we do know that this is where the North Node is, and that's almost like the North Star that's kind of guiding you. And funny enough, as well, as I say that, I always think of the North Star as like the star in Pinocchio, where he wishes upon a star and he wants to make that dream come true. And I don't know if you can see in this picture here, can you see that little kind of star on his forehead? There. Oh wait. Don't know, maybe you can just about see it. And that does really make me feel like, for this pile, this 9th house, sorry, this North Node in your 8th house is where, you know, a lot of energy is going to be focused on, particularly whenever you're listening to this reading, or it will be coming into your life, or it's just been in your life. And that is really about this shared resources. So like, again, it can be any kind of relationship, but it's a deep relationship. But it can also be shared resources. So like I say, this can even be stuff to do with tax. It can be stuff to do with business partnerships. It can be stuff to do with inheritance. It's all of that type of area. And I do feel like the more open and vulnerable that you can be, while also being very sensitive and compassionate to your own needs, as well as the other person or the other people's needs, the more that you will find life can bring you windfalls, is kind of what I am completely feeling with that. Sorry if you can hear that buzzing, that's just my fridge just starting to go. I think as well, with this being right in the centre, it does really make me feel like you've really got to be standing in your own power. But it's almost like, oh, this is so interesting. This is where there's this real dance between being narcissistic and actually just being, this is going to sound bizarre, but let's say healthily in love with yourself. And I do really feel like maybe quite a lot of that is going to be coming up for you, just both within you or also, or even with people that are in your life. So maybe really start to feel into, or maybe understand a bit more about what is narcissistic behaviour, and what is truly the behaviour of just really loving being you. And what your Akashic Records are coming straight out and saying is one of the really big differences is, although it appears that both parties love themselves, one party will also be really, really open to other people, and they just won't hold insecurities. So essentially they are not, they don't have to always be right, they're open to say sorry, you know, all of these kind of things, where the other party that holds that more narcissistic traits is probably going to be highly insecure, either very obviously or in a very specific theme, and that insecurity is going to cause them to push people away by what they say or what they do. Again, I just really, really want to emphasize, we all have narcissistic patterns, because really all they are is huge insecurities which we are highly protective of. And obviously, depending on somebody's personality and other things that have gone off in their life, depends on what scale they are at to do with that. But really the whole thing as well about this spread so far is this thing about vulnerability and connection. Vulnerability and connection is so key, because we've got the Six of Wands, the Two of Cups and the Six of Cups. And so as well, this does definitely feel like collaborations are really, really important. And also now, interestingly, what also is coming out through your records is some of you, feel into if this feels right for you, some of you might actually have a deep, and it might be unconscious or you might be now more aware of it, a deep kind of fear. So that also is showing me there's a kind of fear, like a ghost that's in the background. You can have this kind of deep fear about actually connection, but more specifically to do with you guys, about sharing your power with another. Sharing your power with another. I'm really, really getting that. And now that will work on multiple levels, but what you might find is you only go so far to do with connection or sharing yourself in some way or another before you start to maybe retreat slightly. Because whenever you start to feel like the power balance between you and another, or you and a situation, starts to go more in the other person or the other situation's favour, let's say, it makes you feel highly uncomfortable. And I'm also getting this is due to childhood things that have happened in the past. So that'll also be different for all of you. But you know, that kind of imbalance between power, where it feels like potentially you're giving more than you're receiving, can make you feel highly insecure and cause you to push away that situation, that scenario, that person or whatever, even if actually it's something that would be really awesome for you, because it's almost like an unconscious defense mechanism, just because of something you've experienced in the past as a child, where it's almost like somebody used their power against you, and that's sort of led a kind of deep sort of scar. It could be something really superficial, so almost maybe, let's say, a parent really telling you off, and they were really kind of full on about how they were telling you off, and it was a complete imbalance of their power over you, and it kind of really affected you. Or it could be something way bigger, you know, way bigger. And obviously I'm not going to go into all of those, because you'll definitely know if it's something much bigger. But essentially an abuse of power is what we're talking about, wherever you've experienced an abuse of power in the past. And actually, as I say these words, see what memories flash up for you. Where are you holding on to a scenario where there was a huge abuse of power that you experienced? And whatever flashes up for you there, that's actually something that as well might be leading to some kind of codependency patterns unconsciously. But that really is almost like a ghost in your closet, and it's something that it's something for you, and I think actually just life will naturally help you, I'm hearing the word, expel that memory, expel that energy from the past that hasn't been helpful for you, because in all honesty it will need to be expelled in order for you to go into these like real deeply connected relationships or situations. Because bearing in mind, it might even be you maybe in the future, or even you are going to be going into business with somebody, and this is very much a shared resource thing. And also, you know, you might find that they're really good at one thing and you're really good at another. So it's kind of like on some level you have to be I don't want to say vulnerable, but it's great that they are better at some other things than you, but equally that therefore means that you have to surrender some of your power to them, because they're going to be dealing with things that you don't really know about, and therefore that means on an energetic level they have more power to do with that topic than you, and you have to be okay and comfortable with that and feel safe in the fact that that won't be used against you in any way, like whatever happened to you way back in the past with this memory. So yeah, that feels, to be honest, that feels quite deep. And I will be honest with you here, you know what, I can actually really resonate with that. This is something that my guides are saying yes. I totally can understand that kind of, you know, sometimes it might feel safer to have all of the control yourself, because if you have all of the control yourself, then you know that, nobody can use anything against you. You know what I mean? But the thing is, by being in a situation where you just think, no, I need to be in control of everything, you actually stop so many amazing, beautiful connections and collaborations coming through, which would absolutely enhance your life massively, and would also allow you to become more vulnerable and open with yourself, with another, and therefore with life. And obviously the more open you are with life, the more windfalls that can come to you. So I definitely think that's something for you guys to kind of have a little think about and feel into. But let's just get a couple more cards. Wow, flicked out straight away. Okay, we're not reading these reversed apparently. So we have the Hermit. And we have the Two of Swords. Okay, so I can really see as well with this is there's going to be a decision that you guys are going to have to make about, oh wow, it's really made a square. And actually we've got 4 here and 4 here. And that is an anchor here. Oh wow. Wait, so just before I go into that, what I can really say as well, your Akashic Records want to tell you is that this is really about creating some solid, stable foundations. And actually that does make sense with Jupiter and Saturn in your 4th house, because that really is the very bottom part of the chart. It's the IC of the chart. It is the anchoring. And I do think it is really important that obviously you do, whatever you do or what you're doing in 2021, always ask yourself this question: will this create more stability in my life? And if the answer is yes, that's already a really good signal that this is a great way to move forward, because I'm really getting this energy that there is no more time for having chaos and conflict in your life. Chaos and conflict is not helping you get where you want to go, and also be able to express everything, or express yourself in life, and life express itself with you when you've got chaos and conflict going off. And when I say chaos and conflict, I also mean things like you know what, it really does feel, again, it just so feels like power plays, power battles going off. And sometimes I would even say these power plays go off between you and you. So a part of you might be wanting to do something, but then another part of you might be sabotaging that, and there becomes kind of this tussle and this power play going off between you and you. But equally, this will also reflect itself out in other relationships in your life, 100%. And again, this does feel like this could be something that you've experienced in childhood, and it's just kind of set up that pattern. Remember, anything that happened to you in childhood, you really can work through it. And you know what, with with that North Node being in your 8th house, and also Saturn and Jupiter being in your 4th house, these are all very much ancestral type of a family kind of childhood type of energies as well. There will be so much that's going off for you with that. But one of the big places I would say is definitely look at where power plays have gone off, and it's definitely anything you can do to do with healing, and even sometimes you don't even need to heal, you know. Particularly I've channeled a lot in the Akashic Records for this 2021 that when this energy goes into Aquarius, it's not so much about healing, going into the past to heal. It's more about healing in a new, inspiring, creative way, which is so much lighter. So it doesn't mean that you maybe have to spend hours with the therapist going through things, but it does mean that maybe you need to look at doing something creative that actually also helps you integrate this past energy. And that will be different for all of you, and that's, to be honest, another tarot reading in itself, but just be mindful of that. But yeah, so I do think there'll be lots of things for you to go off to do with a certain way of healing, but more importantly, understanding and integrating your past so it allows you to springboard into a more inspiring future. And like I say, the big thing is start definitely being clear to when you can feel power plays coming on. I would definitely ask yourself, is this worth it? Is it worth being right, or is it more worth saying no to conflict and chaos and, you know, going about stuff in that type of way? Like, I can really feel this, because then the bigger overall question with all of this is what I'm going to do create more stability in my life? And that can be physical stability, emotional stability, mental stability, spiritual stability even. Or is it going to cause more discord and more chaos and conflict? And, you know, like those whirlwinds that we kind of saw in the very beginning, whirlwinds going off everywhere. Am I really going to keep engaging with those whirlwinds? Do I really want that anymore? Has that really brought me what I want? And I think that there's some sort of the deeper psychological questions that are going to be going off for you, which I think is pretty cool, to be honest. One sec, so just getting a message. Oh, I love this. I totally love this. Okay, so literally I just got this, which is a slight reword from, I don't know if you guys have ever seen the film Field of Dreams with Kevin Costner in it. Oh my god, it's a beautiful film. If you've not seen it, check it out sometime, it's awesome. But anyway, there's this thing where it always says, if you build, he will come. But what I actually got from your records is, if you build, they will come. So we'll check that out in the extended to see what that means exactly. But now let's just get some more cards, oracles. So straight away with the oracles, I got really called for to get some very shamanic decks out. And I haven't really used many of the shamanic decks, but for some reason it was just, I don't know, I guess it's because there's something powerful and potent going off for you guys. Let's just get a couple more. Let's go over here. One more. I do feel like this is a really, to be honest, already it kind of feels like it resonates with me quite a lot. And even though I don't have Scorpio, Sun, Moon or Rising, I do have Mars in Scorpio and quite a few planets in Scorpio. So it just goes to show you how these readings can work. Anyway, let's just go. So we have, oh wow. Okay, love. Then we have Capricorn, the boss. And then it says here, don't know if you can read this. Sorry, there we go. It says, keeping up appearances, tactical finesse. It's interesting. Then we have the giveaway. Oh, I know what that's all about. And then we also have Spirit of Water. Okay, so what we will do is we will go into those cards in the extended, and we'll also channel your message from your crystal, and we'll also go into this if you build, they will come. We pull lots of additional cards around these messages to see what's going off, and it's always quite interesting what happens. But yeah, so we've got love, we've got Capricorn the boss, we've got keeping up appearances and tactical finesse, the giveaway, and spirit of water. Let's go into the extended then to see what's happening there. If you want the extended reading, you just have to go to my website, abigailgracepsychic.com, so you can buy that one there. If you can also find me on Instagram and Facebook, I'm Abigail Grace Psychic, and I post lots of different things on there. And my other YouTube channel, See It Like a Psychic, holds lots of different stuff. What's flagging up for me for you guys is I've got a video to do with integration time. So you know when we talked about in the beginning about understanding the pauses, when to act, when to wait, that video could be really powerful. I also really feel the Scorpio highest potential video would be powerful. And to be honest, also what's really coming up is Leo. Really, it's interesting, you've got very much a Leo energy at the centre of your spread. And so I do really think you'll find that really, really useful. So you can go to my website, See It Like a Psychic for that, or sorry, YouTube account. But other than that, I've loved reading for you. Thank you so much. I feel like this can be a super powerful, transformative year. And you know what I feel the most? Which I can just really feel that, you know, so many battles are going to be over for you. Or, you know, this is the beginning of the end of all of that kind of like, I don't know, if you feel like you're battling against things, or you have to like, I don't know, force things, or you know, you just feel like things aren't really fitting into place with you, or that kind of energy, I can really feel like that is really going to be coming to an end. But we'll go into more of that in the extended. So hopefully see you soon, and yeah, cool. I love reading for you, and also you've helped me with this reading. Thank you so much, because a lot of this I think I needed to hear. Cool. Speak to you guys soon. Bye. So thank you for letting me read for you. That was totally my pleasure. If you'd like the extended reading, you just need to go over to my website on abigailgracepsychic.com. I'll leave all the links below. There's the choice for you to buy one reading, one extended reading, or multiple extended readings, and there's different packages that you can go for, so that you can get the most out of it. Just bearing in mind that 2020 was crazy and 2021 is still very much a huge tipping point, and so much new energy is coming in. But when anything begins, there are always unpredictable moments. There's different things that kind of go off. So hopefully these readings, particularly if you use them in whatever way your intuition tells you to, you'll be able to get the most out of how you can leverage whatever situation you find yourself in 2021. Also, just bearing in mind that these readings are relevant anytime in 2021, and you can come back to these readings and you might find different numbers become relevant to you. So just be as creative and intelligent as possible with all of these readings, so you can leverage any situation and you can do awesome, because I do believe we all can. Speak to you soon. Hi there, Scorpio. So this is for everybody that chose message number 2 as holding the information for what your Akashic Records wants to tell you right now in 2021. So what we'll do is we will go into the crystal in the extended reading. So I'm just going to put that to the side. But first of all, we'll channel it into your stone. So let's see. What do your Akashic Records want to tell you, group number 2, about 2021? Okay, so I'm seeing this word and I can't pronounce it. Just give me a second. But metamorphosis. I'm seeing the word metamorphosis, but I'm also hearing the word morphogenic field. Okay, so let me just feel into this a bit more. Okay, so you know with the morphogenic field, I think that's how it's called, and that's what I'm hearing anyway. I think it's basically this field where all species have essentially a connection to each other, where they can independently yet collectively pull information from that collective, which helps it towards its own survival and its own evolution. So for example, it's something about the fact that, you know, sometimes some birds are born and literally almost as soon as they're hatched out of the egg, the mother sort of very quickly in a short period of time encourages them to jump off like a cliff, and they instinctively, intuitively know that they need to fly, and they start flapping their wings. And that's because of something to do with this morphogenic field, where all of the information is already stored for each species. So it's kind of a little bit like the Akashic Records, but not, in terms of it's just a massive warehouse of all of the information that's ever occurred to do with that species, and that species can tap into that information at any one point. So that's the morphogenic field. Let me just see, what's this all about? Because this is really interesting. What's this about? Okay, so I'm getting this thing that it's actually really important for this pile that you really pay attention to your heritage and also your family background and also your ancestral lineage. Now, those three things are all slightly different, but it's more just like a time zone different is how they kind of vary. Because there's some, in 2021 or whenever you listen to this, there's some really useful information that you can get by looking at, it's not just past patterns within your family history, it's almost like past patterns relevant within almost, I'm also almost hearing like the human consciousness. Let me just get a bit more specific here, because with the metamorphosis, it feels like you're going to be under, it's interesting because it was the specific word metamorphosis over transformation. So I'm not totally sure what the difference is, but it's definitely metamorphosis, not transformation. I feel like the Akashic Records is saying it's all to do with the fact that it's not so much that you're changing something in your life or something about you, but it's more that you are, because you're not ending anything and you're not letting go of anything. It's more just that you are okay, let me show you what I'm seeing visually, because I think it'll help explain it better. I'm basically seeing, oh, that's it. So I'm basically seeing you're going to be the same person, but it's almost like, and the metaphor I'm being given is you're just going to be dressing in a new way, or you are the same person, but you're just going to be moving into this house, or you are the same person, but you're just going to be, and fill in the blank. And they were just sort of like abstract examples, but it's the fact that it's not really that you're going to change, it's more that you are just almost growing into something. That's it. You're growing into something in an area of your life. And so it's not so much a transformation, it's more a metamorphosis, where you are going from, you're still the exact same person, it's just that almost life is going to come through and bring in some opportunities, which if you then step into, it's just like you're suddenly going to become a greater version of yourself in some way. But it's not, and this is specific, it's not through an ending of something. So, you know, transformation is often death and then rebirth. I'm not getting that it's an ending. It's almost like, I'm hearing like elaborating what is already there. Elaborating what is already there, and therefore sculpting something different with the same clay. Is again the kind of metamorphosis that, the metaphor that I'm getting. And also this whole thing about the morphogenic field, it feels as well like, and feeling intuitively what feels relevant for you, but there's somebody in human history that actually, if you research about them, or I don't know, you watch some YouTubes on them or some videos on them, or read some books on them, because they could be way, way, way back in human history as well. Equally, for some of you, they'll be very, very relevant and current in history currently. That by studying one of these people, there's so much that you're going to gain about something very specific that's going off in your life. And actually just by, and this is really cool, just by you actually reading about them or listening to them talk or whatever it might be, you're somehow going to be almost downloading that type of information into your consciousness. And you'll find that it almost becomes fully integrated just by you just paying attention to this human being for a certain period of time. And that's why they're showing me the morphogenic field. It's almost just like you're going to able to almost like download the information from that person in whatever way it might be, and it's suddenly going to be like almost like fully intuitively integrated within you. But the key part with this is actually finding the person in history that's relevant to whatever is going off for you right now. Because I'm also hearing that this sort of download of that kind of information through the morphogenic field of human consciousness it's because it's specific to a character, a personality type, that is something that you don't quite have at the moment, but are again growing into. So by finding out who this person is, or being intuitively guided to who this person is, it's actually going to help you with that metamorphosis that we talked about, where you're sculpting yourself into something new while still using all the same components that you've already got. And it's more that you're just adding on additional insight from whoever this person in history is, and that's really going to have a positive effect on you. I'm also getting this, it's kind of showing me the example of, I think this is right, Graham Greene. He did something like, the laws of power, or the 48 laws of power, something like that. I know in some of his books he like studies parts of history and then talks about them. So it's not quite like that, because it's more like a specific person, but it's that kind of thing where you start to understand new concepts about yourself and life through analysing another person in history and how and why they did what they did. For better and for worse. I'm hearing that it's really useful that you see both the shadow side of that individual and the light side of that individual, because both lots of information have got a lot of relevance for you. Now, obviously, the only question is, and it'll be different for all of you, so I can't channel this, is who is that person in history that is going to be most relevant to you? But what my spirit guides are saying from the Akashic Records is that if this resonates with you and you feel the drive to, you will also start to, don't worry basically, the universe, your spirit guides will actually start to bring that sort of conscious awareness to you anyway, as in who it is. You might just find that you suddenly start watching something on TV and then you hear about somebody else and you Google them online and then you start to pay attention that way. It does feel like this is quite a historic figure, by the way. So it feels somebody that would have been known worldwide, or at least, yeah, it does feel like they'd have been known worldwide to some extent. And it also feels like they don't feel to me like they're still alive. So I hope that narrows it down a little bit for you. But they did play, and also here's some more information for you, they did play a significant role in society in some way during a turbulent time period for humanity. So hopefully that like narrows it down a bit more and a bit more and a bit more. And they had a shadow and a light side also. Obviously we all do anyway, but yeah. So yeah, that's what I'm getting in there. That's really interesting. The other thing as well that I'm getting is that Mars is important for this group. So check out where your Mars is. Obviously Mars is a co-ruler of Scorpio, but also, like I said to you in the beginning, the first 2 months of 2021, Mars is really active in Taurus, because it basically interacts with almost, well, I don't know if it's actually, no, wait a minute, it's just really important for you guys in Taurus. Whatever it's doing in January and February has got something really important to do with then the lunar eclipse that happens in November at the end of the year, and that lunar eclipse is in Taurus. And there's something about January and February that's got some huge relevance to November. And again, I'm hearing that the more that you pay attention to the first 2 months, definitely to do with themes of the Mars energy, of movement, of aggression, of assertion, of passion, of respect, these kind of energies, whatever is coming up for you during those, there's something that then you're going to get some kind of like massive, actually, like this is where like I can see a real metamorphosis occurring through the stimulation either before or after that lunar eclipse that is in November. So pay attention whenever you listen to these videos. If you're actually listening after January and February, then pay attention to what happened in January and February. Like I say, but definitely to do with all of these Mars type themes, because something about that is really significant. It could be an event, it could be anything, and it then plays out, and there's something that happens within November with that. So yes. And I do really feel there's definitely this feeling of of assertion that's going off with this pile. And I'm hearing this, taking the bull by the horns. And as well, now I'm like seeing the image of a bull. Oh, what is it? Is it in Spain when they do that thing where they, I don't know, like taunt the bull with the red, I don't know, flag or whatever. And I can't think what it's actually called, but I can just see it. And there's like a stadium and there's a bull there. And then there's some guy that's all fancily dressed up with like a red flag, like encouraging the bull, and he's having to irritate the bull while also making sure that he stays out of the bull's way. I can see that going on. So again, this makes me think, oh, the bull, Taurus energy. And obviously we know this is important with your Mars. So there might be something where either somebody or something is taunting you a little bit. It could even be your own consciousness. But at the same time, it could also be something about like a game and kind of a challenge, and almost a challenge of bravery and courage on some level. So I feel like it might be like you're having to dig deep with courage, but at the same time, I feel like there could be something, this does not feel heavy. This feels almost like playful and almost like entertainment, enjoyment on some level. It feels like a rush. There we go. That's the words. It feels like a rush. So yeah, pay attention to that. But anyway, let us have a look at your cards now. So let's see. What is going on? Message number 2. Okay. I definitely feel this playful vibe, by the way, because now I'm like seeing visions of like people playing leapfrog for some reason. But actually it feels like there's something quite methodical as well that's going off for you, because the way that your spread is, I'm being shown to do it, is very much just like a straight line. It feels like there's something about A to B to C to D kind of thing. But let's see what's going on here. Oh wow, so we open your reading with the Lovers. Okay, so this could be obviously relationship, this could also be choice, significant life choice, but we'll have a look. Wow, then we have the Ace of Matches. So definitely something about a new beginning that comes through the spark of passion and inspiration and excitement. You see, again, we're getting that excitement energy. Oh, wow. Another major arcana right in the center of your spread, the World. And the World with like a B. So it feels like there's something's really coming together in a community type of energy. Then we have, oh wow, no friggin' way, I cannot believe this. So 6 of Cups, we got that as your card anyway for everybody. You know, message number 1 also got 6 of Cups coming up. So this is clearly a highly, highly dominant energy for you guys in 2021. But obviously we'll go into that in more detail. And then we have the Page of Stones. So the Page of Stones is the Page of Pentacles. So obviously this can be almost like a messenger of something new coming into your physical reality in some way. But anyway, just give me a moment just while I feel into all of these. Actually, now I'm being shown that we just do it a little bit like that. Okay, so what's going on for message number 2? I mean, there's definitely something, I did say call it out with the astrology, but you know, and it came out as well in pile number 1, but it's coming out as well here too. There's definitely this thing about relationship and connection, and I'm hearing the word connectivity is really, really important in 2021. And as well with the Lovers here, this pile makes me feel the difference that feels between pile number 1 and pile number 2 to do with connection and relationship is, guys, this feels something that's very intertwined. I feel like potentially this is something that you're already aware of, or if you're not already aware of it, well, actually, regardless, this feels like for everybody, this is absolutely a call to have more vulnerability in your connections, like more intimacy. Also more alignment is the words that I'm hearing. And I'm also hearing like a deeper surrender into that commitment, into that connection. So also, if you're not currently in a relationship, it really could even be, obviously, those same old words we always say, it could be to do with a relationship with yourself. But I also feel it's really about your commitment and your, like, how you're showing up in life and how you're showing up in the world. And this does actually feel very much something to do with creativity too. It feels like a bit of the energy of an entrepreneur, which is bizarre because, you know, I can't necessarily say these cards definitely say that to me, but it's just the overall feeling that I'm getting as they come out and we're in your Akashic Records. It's really interesting as well because you've kind of got a new beginning and you've also got this completion card going off at the same time as well. But I feel like, how do we say this? That's it. It feels like something that you've been working on is going to be released into the world. That's it. That's exactly what this is. It's something that you've been working on is going to be released into the world. And that's why I'm getting that entrepreneurial type energy. Now, this doesn't necessarily have to be anything to do with a business or a creative project. It could even be just a new part of yourself, a new thing, a new characteristic that you've been working on for a while that you're now ready to really kind of show up in the world as that characteristic. For example, a really simple one could be, well, actually very relevant to a lot of this, what we've been talking about previously, is communication. Coming out in the world to start to communicate about, just communicate with others, communicate with yourself in kind of like a new way. I'm really, really kind of getting that sort of vibe. And it's also given me this feeling of, you know, some people that are going back to famous historic people, some people have really worked on their voice, you know, as in they're not necessarily singers, but they've really worked on their voice as speakers. They've worked on the tone, you know, they've worked on the speed, they've worked on all of that kind of thing. It kind of feels like it could even be that kind of energy that's getting released out for you in the world. So it's a skill that you've been working on that is building on something that you already have. And like I say, this could actually apply to a business, it could apply to a job, but it also could apply to how you show up in relationships. You know, maybe you've been really working at healing something from your past, or maybe you've been really working at being more vulnerable and opening up and communicating that, you know, any of these things and 1,000 of other things. But that's kind of like the energy, and it feels like it's actually getting released into the world. And then what I can really see with these two cards here, the Six of Cups and the Page of Stones, it just feels like this is going to be so well received. I really, really feel like when you show up in the world in this way, however that might be, it feels to me like it's just going to be really, really, it's going to be received so well. And I feel as well like there's going to be how to say, I don't know, whatever you've got, whatever this is, it's like it's going to fit into your life in a very specific, precise way. Almost like it has a feeling of perfection. Like it's the perfect time, it's the perfect moment, it's the perfect scenario, it's something like that. And it just feels like you're just going to be like slotting yourself into place with whatever this is. All I know is it feels super harmonious. But I'm also getting as well that you're willing to be, it's not so much vulnerable. It's about intimacy. Your willingness to be more intimate in some kind of way. And obviously I don't just mean this in terms of romantic relationships and sex. It could be that for sure, but it could also be other things as well, because we can be intimate in so many different ways. Even just by paying more attention to what somebody's actually saying to you can actually be a moment of more intimacy. And I just can feel like there's something about that type of energy, that kind of like, it's almost like, again, it's sort of like this, I'm getting the words of like concentration, commitment, but to kind of like a very specific moment. that is all part of this this opening up of more harmony and not so much flow, but it's like perfect timing. It just, there's something about this that feels very much perfect timing. But let me just get some more anyway, 1 second. Let's see, what else is going on here? So yeah, let's see. Also feels like quite a lot of circles are going off within your spread too. Again, this kind of feeling of harmony. This doesn't feel like completion. You know, like how I was channeling here, this isn't about a beginning and an ending, it's about something else. It's almost about something really sacred in some kind of way. Let's just get into, actually, there we go. So do we read these reverse? No, we don't read these reverse. So then we have the Four of Wands, really interesting. Message number 1 also had Page of Wands. Then we have Three of Swords. And then we have, oh wow, I love this one, Sky Father. So in this deck, this I believe is the Emperor. I love this card, it's so gorgeous. Okay, let's just feel into this. So what is this all about? Do you know what, again, I'm really getting these words again about perfect timing. So I do feel that's all going to relate to you guys in different ways. So you just want to intuitively feel into that and see what comes up for you. But there does feel this thing about, I think as well with perfect timing, just when I go on about this, I feel like you've got to keep an eye open. You've got to keep an eye open for something that's coming. And it's very much about you, again, that thing that we talked about. Well, actually, I don't know if we did talk about it in the beginning, but actually there's this whole kind of energy of knowing when to act and knowing when to wait. And I do feel like this is something that might be quite testing at some times, just purely because it's overcoming that impulse to be reactive about something. But I can really feel like this is something that you're totally going to nail. And it just feels like when you, very specific to this pile, when you kind of pull back on that impulse to be reactive, I get this really strong feeling that it's almost like I can see space-time opening up for you, and it's metaphorically telling me that it's kind of like you're going to be able to start seeing into your future with so much more clarity. And it's so interesting. It's like what we said about you being really present in the moment, and say maybe really listening to what somebody is saying, or really paying attention to something that you're doing in the moment. As much as you're having to be present with time in that way, in another aspect, when you do that as well, you'll be less reactive naturally. Okay, and then as a consequence of that, and you being therefore less reactive and more in your present time, for some reason that starts to open up, almost like just the awareness of a precognitive awareness about things that are coming, because it's almost like that reactive energy that you might sometimes have in the present, because you're changing that and you're becoming way more observant. It's doing something where all of that intense Scorpio energy that you have is now not going into being reactive, but it's actually going into almost perceiving things before they actually happen. And I'm kind of really, really getting that with this card. And then, you know how I said to you, Mars is important. Look at that. We've got Aries, the Aries astrology up there too. And obviously the Emperor can very much be the energy of Aries. So again, I feel like it's important for you sometimes to be more assertive in your relationships. However, assertive is not the same thing again about what we're talking about as being reactive. It's not about being reactive, but it is about being assertive. And you know what, this came up a little bit in pile number 1, but in a different way. It's being assertive about what you want. And I'm also hearing these words about what you expect. And it's very much like, I just really feel it with this, like, it's like having a plan. It's having a plan, it's having a focus, it's having a purpose. And it's very much something about, it's getting like all of your ducks in a row. I don't know if you can see all those glasses there, but they're all like in a line. I feel like it's really important you get all your ducks in a row, particularly to do with relationship levels. But I'm also hearing specific for this pile is the way that you improve your relationships or your relationship status or whatever it might be in that kind of way is it's about very much about owning your energy in a new way. Again, this is this metamorphosis, and this is what your Akashic Records is saying about you finding somebody in history that for some reason you get drawn to, and there's something that they can teach you about how to own your own authority more. Particularly in disruptive time periods, which in some ways, when you work through that, you'll understand how to work through any kinds of reactivities or insecurities or emotional intense energy, and you'll be able to transform it into a new thing, which actually becomes super, super, super powerful and creative. And like, I really feel like you're already on this journey, you're already on this pathway, but there's definitely something about you looking back in history, looking back through the human morphogenic field to find out what has worked and what hasn't, and why it's worked and why it hasn't. And you'll get this through a specific person. I'm also really getting as well that you'll really understand a lot for yourself by looking at whoever this person is in history and seeing where, and these are the specific words, seeing where they suffered, seeing where they fell down, seeing where they almost had insecurities and vulnerabilities through being a human, through being in extreme circumstances, through having a lot of pressure put on them, having a lot of responsibility. There's something that you'll really be able to pick up by paying attention as well to whoever this person is in history that's going to draw you in. Because it does also feel, as much as this feels like a relationship for sure, because we know that with your astrology and obviously other things that we've gone through, this definitely, as soon as I saw it as well, it did really make me feel it's a choice. There's some choice that's coming up for you guys. Once again, I feel like this choice is something that's not going to be suddenly out of the blue. Or let's put it this way, if it is suddenly out of the blue, you don't have to make the decision straight away. But I do also feel like you guys might have a sense of this situation or this proposition or whatever it is coming to you before it actually comes to you. So you're kind of, it feels to me like you will be well prepared to deal with it. It really, really does. And then again, it's about, before making this choice, whatever it is, getting all of your ducks in a row. Getting all of your ducks in a row before you then take this choice. So kind of, this is the scenario that I'm kind of seeing. It's kind of like the opportunity where I know, here we go. It's kind of like this opportunity where you decide that you're going to set up a business. Bear in mind, this is just a metaphor, okay? It's totally just a story, a metaphor, so you can get the energy. So this person decides that they want to set up a business, and then they suddenly realise, oh wow, okay, so I can actually get a loan for this, and actually there's a really good deal going off with the loan that I could get. So they're like, right, okay, I need to do that. But at the same time, they realise, right, okay, well, before I do that, let me just sort out all of my money at the moment. Let me get all my tax up to date as much as it can be. Let me just make sure I've paid off all my bills and everything as much as I can do. Let me just check my own accounts. Let me just see what's going out, what's coming in. Where can I make savings? Where do I want to invest more? Let me just get all of those ducks in a row to do with my finances before I just go and get that loan and accept that loan and then invest it into whatever this business is. It's kind of that sort of energy where the idea, the choice to go into a business comes up far before, way before this person actually decides to then almost set up the business and release the business into the world, It's kind of that kind of energy. And it feels like as well there's some practical, logical steps that that you need to basically go through to do with whatever this is. But the key thing that I'm hearing is, and I just keep hearing it, getting your ducks in a row first to do with whatever it might be. It's kind of like the same sort of thing as realizing that there's somebody in your life that you're really attracted to. You realize that they're really attracted to you as well. You can sense that soon they're probably going to ask you out on a date, and you decide, right, okay, before then I'm just going to clear out my phone of, I don't know, past relationships if it's relevant, anything that I'm holding on to do with that. I'm just going to I don't know, just do something nice to do with my parents or whatever, because we often know that a lot of our modelling from childhood from our parents kind of reflects into romantic relationships. So maybe you do something nice to do with that, and maybe then you just do something where you just fully focus on you and do something that you really enjoy, and then you know that by the time this person then asks you out, you're going to be in this really great kind of space to do with accepting that offer, taking that choice. It's that kind of energy. So it kind of feels like, again, this kind of preparation, and the reason as well why I'm hearing that is so important is because you guys are going to have this opportunity to kind of go into the next level of your life in whatever area this is relevant to, because it'll be different to all of you. And actually, just on an energy spectrum, sometimes this is not always the case because everything has many different possibilities, but sometimes you get a situation where, now let's just go back to the romantic thing for an example. Somebody comes in that's really perfect for you before you've even let go of your old partner, okay? Because sometimes that is a storyline that you're going to go through. It's part of an experience, and it could still have an amazing end at the end, right? But it's a different type of journey. For some other people though, and what is relevant for you guys right now is it's more like whatever is coming in is coming to you because you're actually in this almost like you don't need saving, you don't need healing. You are now just essentially this almost entrepreneurial energy, which is very open, which is very magnetic, which is very energized. And that's the energy that's going to either bring in the person, bring in the opportunity, bring in the business, bring in the money. It's got that kind of energy and vibe to it, if that kind of makes sense. But yeah, it does really feel like, I know we've talked about it in the beginning, like Jupiter and Saturn is in your fourth house. And that reminds me, for you guys, it already made me feel about deep psychology. And it's kind of very much about making peace with the past, so that the past is now, regardless of whether the past was happy or sad, you've now programmed it in your consciousness. So it kind of feels, it's got its own rewards. It's kind of built you to be the person that you are now. And again, that might be why looking at somebody in history is really powerful as well, because it's kind of like this energy of you're putting your focus into the past in a really kind of like, I'm hearing like really intelligent and almost scholar type way. And this will mean that you learn fast, you integrate quick, and it aligns you very quickly to whatever it is that there's this opportunity that is coming into you, which is actually going to take you, therefore, into having experiences that you've never had before, but which are incredibly powerful. And again, it does really feel like there's going to be a lot of synergy with whatever this opportunity is, whether it's relationship, business, money, job, a home. It just feels like there's a lot of synergy coming in. And again, this does really feel like there's so much powerful synergy, because when this offer comes in, you get all your ducks in a row to do with whatever this opportunity is before you basically physically make an action towards it. For example, if it's that person like going on the date, you get everything in alignment in different areas to do with relationships before you go on the date. Or if it's to do with a business offer, you basically get everything in alignment before you go and get the loan, which then allows you to have the business. It's got that kind of energy to it. And I'm hearing that the reason why this is so important for you guys is because it's going to have kind of like a real kind of potency. When you do it this way, you're going to have a real kind of potency. And I'm really hearing that whatever this is, this opportunity, person, situation, whatever it might be, it's going to have real gravitas and longevity with it, because essentially it's been created on stable foundations, but it's also been created, I'm hearing, on very realistic foundations. There doesn't really feel like there's anything like flash in the pan about this. It feels like a soul who's grown up, who's matured, who's taken the losses with also the gains of life, is completely it's actually very just feels very, very secure. Actually, this feels very, very emotionally secure, and because of that, whatever you're going to be creating from that space will also be very emotionally secure, and therefore it will have longevity. And I do really feel like it will have a real kind of commitment to it. One thing that I do feel about this opportunity as well, though, is that it's actually going to, whatever this is, person, situation, place, etc., it's going to really have how do I say, it's going to have it's going to go through many different cycles. It's going to go through many, many different cycles, and I feel like it's constantly going to be helping you grow. But more than that, because I feel like you guys grow no matter what, but it's more a case of it's going to grow in oh God, I can't think of the word. It's going to grow almost, basically it will grow at the same time as you grow, so it allows this situation or person or whatever to basically stay with you long term, because there's something very harmonized. You're in harmony. It's in harmony. When you grow, it grows. When you slow down, it slows down. When you're happy, it's happy. When it's sad, you're sad. There's something about that. So it's kind of like you're always moving. It's not even that you're moving parallel, it's that you're literally moving together. That's the thing, you're literally moving together. And like I say, it can be a person, a situation, an opportunity, a business, even a job. You know, sometimes you get a job and you realise that, you know, you're working on yourself, and maybe you're changing a lot, and you're changing your consciousness, which is changing your vibration, and then suddenly you realise, oh no, I'm out of alignment with this job. Now either I have to reduce my vibration so that I stay in alignment with this job, or I'm going to ultimately have to leave this job, or the universe will almost make me leave this job because I can't be this higher vibration as well as be in this lower vibration situation, whatever it is. It kind of feels like that's not going to happen with this, because essentially there's going to be, like I say, this real kind of like synergy and harmony, which again I'm hearing is going to help you really be able to create something that has a real kind of, I don't know, I just keep feeling this thing about a long term. There's a long termness to whatever is going to be created or is being created in 2021. But the key with it is, and this really does feel like the key, that you really have got your ducks in a row beforehand, like I say with this. Now the other thing is though, and this is shouting out to me big time, is it's not about being a perfectionist or hard on yourself, because number one, that will lower your vibration, and this does feel like a vibrational match type of thing. I talked in message 1 about how that's not always the case, and the law of attraction is more complicated than maybe how it's been sold to us in the past. But obviously as we raise our consciousness, the way that the law of attraction works with it also changes. But anyway, regardless of that, this actually is very much like, you know what I said originally, it's like A plus B plus C plus D, like so wheels was all in a row. It does feel like with you, this law of attraction is very much how you vibrate is what you're going to get the match with. And so that's just something for you to be mindful of, because you will know if your ducks are fully in a row before you take this option or whatever it might be. And I'm also hearing that because of the way that this is set up, there isn't a rush. You don't have to immediately take something on board. Again, we talked about being reactive compared to impulsive, or assertive, sorry. You don't need to be reactive, but you do need to be assertive. And you know what, there's this other thing that your Akashic Records are actually saying, that, you know, actually apparently when somebody decides that they're going to do something, and all of them has decided, physically, mentally, emotionally and energetically, that already starts to bring that situation into being fulfilled, even if they haven't said yes to the opportunity just yet. Just the fact that the rest of their being is so like has so much decided that yes, I will do this, and yes, I do want to do it, that it's almost like that opportunity is going to be held in a protective space until that person actually gets to the point of saying, okay, yes, now, I'll take it now, thank you, and does the option, if that kind of makes sense. So what I'm trying to say to you guys is, there isn't a rush. You don't need to rush with this. But it is really important that you kind of get that feeling of, you know, inside, and I know you Scorpios will so get this, of like, you just feel 100% committed to whatever it is. Like, you just know that every part of your, like, your cells, your DNA is like either yes or no. And it's a really powerful feeling. Like, you know, when you guys get that, you know, you don't necessarily have to take instant action off that, because just that vibration and that almost like coherence to do with what it is you want and focused intent is enough to start, therefore, buying you a bit more time to then allow you to get all your ducks in a row to do with whatever it is. And then you will feel this kind of perfect moment. And I feel like you'll feel it coming. And there'll be some kind of like, it will either feel really, there could be a joyful feeling, there could be an excited, anticipated feeling, but there also could just be a feeling of peace. And then you'll know that this is actually probably the moment when now you can actually start to engage with whatever that opportunity is in a very physical, practical way. And then it means that the beginning of whatever this cycle is going to start in the most awesome way possible. And it's going to be so, so stable. And it's almost not going to have any kind of, I don't want to say collateral, but you know, sometimes when things aren't fully resolved from the past and it has its way of working its way into your new situation, and then you're playing the pattern all over again, you guys with message number 2 are really being given the opportunity so that that doesn't need to happen. And again, this is why essentially this opportunity will be so harmonious and will remain in alignment with you for as long as you want it to be in alignment with you, because there'll be this real synergy. And again, it will just feel like it's going to slot perfectly into your life. But there is this thing almost about mature, I think it's more just about a real confidence, a real kind of confidence and in a sense of security within you, that you don't need to rush this because you know that you want it, you recognize the universe wants it for you, and therefore perfect timing will occur. And that means that you can take some time to get things in alignment, to just finish off, tie off some loose ends, something like that. And then when it's released into the world, and by that I mean as well, when you actually say yes, or you go on that date, or you take that loan, or you sign that business contract, whatever it might be, I don't know, it's just something, again, perfect timing, it's the opportune moment. But it's really going to have asked you to really, I'm hearing the words like see the bigger picture. It's like seeing the bigger picture of about how you really do truly manifest within physical reality, understanding different parts of your own psychology and how they can potentially trip you up, but equally how in certain situations that same type of psychology can actually be a real asset. And then it's you understanding when to use it as an asset and when to realize that it could be a weakness and refrain from using it. There's all of these kind of things that I feel are going to be coming out for you in 2021, and I think it'll be really, really powerful. I do also just want to say as well, with Chiron going to be in your 6th house of your day-to-day routines and what you do day to day, because it's just feeling like this energy. Just give me 1 second, let me feel into it. Do you know, there really is this thing about, you know, it's about breath and it's about lungs. If you want to, Google about the lung meridian, see what that says in acupuncture. I feel like that might have some message for some of you. But you know, the lungs, I also do know from acupuncture, is that they, from a Chinese medicine point of view, the lungs can hold grief. And I really feel as well that, and this is interesting, like what we said about the human morphogenic field, I feel like you're going to be releasing grief, but not just from you, but from helping release it from the entire human consciousness. And that sounds epic, I know, but it's something about the way that you're going to be releasing grief is going to almost be, you're not going to be releasing it in a painful, emotional way. You're almost just going to be releasing grief as a process of stepping into more of who you really are, which therefore means that because you focus more on that new part of you, other parts of you that are now no longer in alignment with that new part of you just kind of like naturally and almost unconsciously get released. And it kind of reminds me that I can see a lot of you, this happening in your dream time. Almost like, you know, obviously whether you know it or not, we can all go out of body to different places. I feel like some of you will unconsciously be going out of body in sleep time, where you're actually going to be releasing any grief that you've had, not just from this life, but past lives and many other lives. And therefore there's also something really special about, you'll also be doing it, like I say, for the whole of collective consciousness. But this is all completely, for the majority of you, this will all be completely almost out of your conscious awareness, because it will be happening during dream time. But on the other note, what I also want to say then as well, going back to about what we were saying about Chiron and your 6th house and this, I do feel like you ideally want to have a really good breathing practice. So I don't know if it would be through some kind of breath thing that you would do in meditation, or, I mean, there's so many people out there doing amazing meditations to do with breath, not just Wim Hoffman, but I think there's also something like the Breath Guy or something like that, that all use really powerful different breathing techniques during meditation. I just feel like something like that on a regular basis, even just 5 minutes a day, will really massively help raise your vibration, particularly because it means any healing that's been done in your dream time to do with releasing grief from the past will then also get an additional boost by you then maybe waking up in the morning and doing a quick breathing technique. So I also do want to say is, if ever you wake up in the morning and you feel a bit heavy, you know, sometimes that can happen and then it kind of sets the tone for the day. I feel like just quickly spend a bit of time doing a bit of a breathing meditation to really get that breath moving and almost visualize that energy kind of moving out of your body with your breath. I just think this is something really, really important. I would also say if you are a smoker, that might be something that... I know that, you know, in Chinese medicine, again, because you hold grief in the lungs, sometimes when we have a lot of grief, or there's a situation that it causes us a lot of grief, it can cause us to smoke, because literally we need to, grief takes all the heat out of the lungs energetically, and so smoking, almost in a really bizarre way, puts heat back into the lungs. So there can be this craving for some people to smoke when they feel like they're going through a space of grief. I can honestly say I know this because this is something that impacts me in this type of way. And so, yeah, I just think you need to be mindful of that. If you are somebody that smokes, maybe there's an episode in your past that actually triggered it in some way, and I wouldn't be surprised if it holds something to do with grief on some level, and that's something that you really could work with and you can really shift this year if that's what you want to, because I feel like the energy is there to help you. Obviously, I recommend finding a therapist or somebody that can support you with that process, but I think that's something to be mindful of. Yeah, because that's really kind of coming through. Let me just see what else is coming through with that. Just as well, I do just think if I'm just going to say these words now, because we're in your Akashic Records, so just know that while I'm reading it in this space, that space is open. Whenever you're watching that video, you are going into that space, so the Akashic Records are open for you as well, whenever you're listening to this reading, and that means that you can get additional guidance and insights coming through to you for you. So when I say these words, see if you get any visions or kind of ideas about it. So just relaxing. Where are you holding onto grief? What part of your timeline are you holding on to some grief? Where in your timeline do you need to release some grief? Now be open to that being something in this life, into another life. it's often very powerful if it's in this life, because this life obviously impacts us so viscerally because we are in this life. So I'd encourage you, even if you find it in a past life, to also say, okay, so where is that in this life? Because that can be really powerful too. And then that might be an area where, again, see a therapist or work through it with some guided meditations on YouTube, depending on where your comfort is, and also how traumatic or not the experience is. But I think that could actually be something super, super powerful, because it's really going to really allow you to, when this is being released, really bump your energy field with this whole kind of like literally joyful energy. And it's going to make a lot of people really want to, they'll be very, very attracted to you in some way. Like, the more joy that somebody holds, usually the more charismatic they are, the more magnetic that they are. And also, that's the other thing, you know, joy, I think it is joy anyway, in the Chinese medicine, I'm sure it's joy and grief that come through the lungs. Well, joy might be the heart, to be fair. And also we do just see the heart here, but it also looks like lungs. So I definitely feel like there's this thing for you guys working through about releasing grief and increasing joy, releasing grief, increasing joy. In fact, that might be even a little mantra that you might have while you were consciously breathing. So when you're breathing in joy. When you're breathing out grief. And because I tend to work with colours, because that's how I see stuff, I'd probably have a colour for grief and I'd have a colour for joy, and then I'd visualise that coming in and out of my body too. So that's just a little bit of a suggestion there. But anyway, let us pull some more cards. Actually, 1 second. I'm just getting your message. Okay, that's really cryptic, but obviously we'll go into it in the extended. So it says here, I just channeled here, the choice to sit on a bench in a park or sit on a bench on the beach is one you will have to make. So bearing in mind, they're not usually literal at all. Very rarely are they literal. So obviously we'll pull some more cards about that and explore that in the extended. But now let's just get some more cards. I was saying to message 1, I really felt called to get loads of shamanic cards out for some reason for your oracle. It just felt really, I don't know, important in some way. So again, this just feels like you're really going to be really tapping into more of your power in 2021. But I do also think at times it will be challenging, because you'll have to overcome this kind of natural response to be reactive and to almost be highly emotionally charged. But it's not that you don't want to do that, it's just that you'll be changing what you get highly emotionally charged to and what you don't. And ideally, it's about putting this real emotional charge into some kind of creative project. Something like that is really important. Anyway, let's just some more cards here. Wow, okay, we'll take 2. It's not happened before. Let's put one there and one there. Okay, so let's see what's going on with your oracle. So we have, oh wow, the circle. What did I say about, in the beginning, it seems like you've got lots of circles going on here, but it's not so much about completion. And actually, this doesn't look like completion, to be fair. Look, it looks like all hands uniting and coming together. And actually as well, the number is 8, which I think is a really great number of bringing the spiritual and the physical together. But let's just see what else we have. We then have the tracker. Oh, I love that. Okay, so this really does, I'll go into it later, but it definitely feels like this whole thing that you're going to sense is coming. Okay, then we have Leo, the lover. I love that. And actually, funny enough, that was right under the lovers as well. Wow. So There's so going to be something that goes off for you guys significantly with relationships. I felt it with the astrology. It was also relevant in message number 1. Like, they just really just feel like something. Oh, no way. And then we have third house perception. So third house literally rules communication. And you know how I said as well in the beginning, this is really important when I did all your astrology in the beginning. It actually says here, speech, thoughts, social media, exertions, dating, siblings, research, street life, circulation, discussions, surroundings, sociability. And then let's see, what is this one? Oh, and then we have seeing the bigger picture, gaining perspective. And interesting as well, I did say that when we were talking about this card at some point, it's like you seeing the bigger picture with something. Okay, cool. So what we'll do is we'll take this into the extended. We'll obviously go into all of these oracle questions cards more, and we'll see how they all come together. We'll also pull additional cards for this kind of strange message that we got out of the Akashic Records. And then we will also channel your crystal too. And then last of all, we're just going to pull a message from the I Ching, so you can get your very personalized message about what's going off. But this seems super, so much. You know what? So far, I'll be honest with you. There's so much going on for every energy it appears in 2021, which is really exciting, and it does really feel like lots of souls are going to be called to really, really step up and to. It's almost like tilt the balance. So from things being so heavy and so compressed in 2021, it's like people are really going to have to find this way to kind of liberate their energy and increase the vibration of their energy. And people are going to do that in all different types of ways. But yeah, I think that's really cool. Anyway, hopefully I'll see you in the extended. You can also check me out on Instagram and Facebook. I'm on abigailgracepsychic.com. You can also find me on my other YouTube channel, See It Like a Psychic. That's where I kind of go through a whole load of different things, basically. So if you feel called to, definitely check out that there. And then you can get this extended reading from my website on abigailgracepsychic.com, and I'll leave all of the links below. But this is super interesting, and I'm kind of really intrigued about how this is all going to pull together. Definitely with the tracker. That for me felt really powerful. So yeah, we'll see what that's all about. Hopefully see you in the extended. Also remember, you can use any of your other videos for sun, moon and rising sign with the Akashic Records, and you can also just wildcard, pick one at random, regardless of your astrology, because that's how these messages have been channeled. So cool, hopefully see you soon. Bye. So thank you for letting me read for you. That was totally my pleasure. If you'd like the extended reading, you just need to go over to my website on abigailgracepsychic.com. I'll leave all the links below. There's the choice for you to buy one reading, one extended reading, or multiple extended readings, and there's different packages that you can go for, so that you can get the most out of it. Just bearing in mind that 2020 was crazy and 2021 is still very much a huge tipping point, and so much new energy is coming in. But when anything begins, there are always unpredictable moments. There's different things that kind of go off. So hopefully these readings, particularly if you use them in whatever way your intuition tells you to, you'll be able to get the most out of how you can leverage whatever situation you find yourself in 2021. Also, just bearing in mind that these readings are relevant anytime in 2021, and you can come back to these readings and you might find different numbers become relevant to you. So just be as creative and intelligent as possible with all of these readings, so you can leverage any situation and you can do awesome, because I do believe we all can. Speak to you soon. Hi Scorpio, so this is for everybody that chose message number 3 for what the Akashic Records want to tell Scorpio in 2021. So cool, so we will go into the crystal in the extended. I love this, it always feels really nice. So put it to one side, but first of all we'll go straight into the stone from the Shamanic Meze. So let's just see. Let's see, what do your Akashic Records want to tell you? Okay, so the first word that I'm getting is surprises. And I'm seeing that it's the sort of surprise where, or the way the surprises will kind of feel is like this. I'm being shown a kid that's gone to go and knock round at their friend's house, and they knock on the door and they expect their mate to answer, but in the end somebody completely different answers the door, and it's not even like the kid's parents, and the kid that's knocked at the door is just like, I suppose, in a bit in shock, but also a bit like, what's going on? There's that kind of surprise going on. I'm not hearing that it's a bad surprise or a good surprise, but I'm just hearing that there's that kind of energy kind of going off for you guys. And I'm also getting it's that kind of like it's the suddenness of things, so maybe like sudden realizations that you have, and particularly because you have lots going on to do with psychological energy in your astrology chart, as I was chatting about in the beginning. Interestingly, I'm actually seeing now a hedgehog as well. I don't actually know what hedgehogs stand for in as power animals, but the energy that I'm getting from this hedgehog is there's a certain caution to move forward in a particular direction, and the caution is kind of bringing in this energy of feeling like everything has to be just right before making a move, like it needs to be the right time of day, needs to make sure that feel good. There's like all of these kind of conditions to moving forward in a specific area of life. And the hedgehog is kind of saying that although there is some validity in that, there's something valid about that, the hedgehog is also cautioning you that not to almost have too many restrictions or too many stipulations about how something must be before you take a certain action. That kind of energy is coming through. But the hedgehog also wants to say that you really are divinely protected. And that even if you were to make a move, and let's say it wasn't hypothetically the best timing, things will still work out okay for you because you are divinely protected. But at the same point, the hedgehog is warning against allowing emotions to fuel your decision-making process. And it's actually saying that it's very important to use your emotions and listen to your emotions, but when you make certain decisions in 2021, make sure you're making those decisions not from an emotional place. You need to be making those decisions from a logical kind of place. And also the hedgehog is actually saying that it's really useful to ask other people who have different belief systems to you and might even be a different age gap to you, so they have different outer planets in their birth charts than you, for guidance on this kind of whatever this issue, whenever this comes up in your life in 2021, because there's something of value from getting insights from other generations is what I'm hearing. I'm hearing that it doesn't necessarily have to be family members, but it's just basically people that have different outer planets to you. Just so you know, it's kind of like, how they give us all names like baby boomers, that generation, and millennials, that generation. I'm part of that generation. It's almost going to a different one of those generations, because generally everybody in the millennial will have very similar outer planets, not all but a lot of them, same as the baby boomers, etc, etc. So it's kind of getting guidance from a generation that's outside of your generation, because there's just going to be something of I'm hearing real merit to do with that, and it's really going to help guide you in certain situations. Even if it's ultimately to still take the action that you were thinking of having, there's something as well about the space in between. There's something about by the time you consult this person and get your guidance, your emotionality and your emotional energy field will be so much more calmer and consistent that once again, this just then helps with that process. Whoa, that kind of felt like quite big and quite fast all of a sudden as well. So once again, I'm wondering if some of these decisions might sort of be sprung on you, not necessarily having to make an immediate reaction, because nothing has felt like for Scorpios like they're going to have to make immediate reactions, because actually often immediate reactions very much can come from a more instinctive or emotional place. And the Akashic Records are really guiding you to use more grounding and rationality in your decision-making processes in 2021, particularly because there will be a lot of highly inconsistent energy already present just for everybody in 2021. So it's kind of just being mindful that there's already a lot of that kind of sudden and sometimes emotionally reactive energy available, that if you already hold those type of characteristics, you just want to be careful that you don't get resonance with whatever is going on generally in collective consciousness to do with that type of energy, because it might just expand that energy within you. And the Akashic Records are saying that in some circumstances that can be really useful, but in 2021 that's not going to be the most beneficial way for you to move forward. There's something about this rational, this logical, and also very much kind of like grounded approach to even some sudden events or sudden things that occur or sudden information that is received. It's that kind of energy. Because really interesting, I'm seeing a vision of this now. I'm seeing that, and this is like the energetic version, but maybe you can kind of feel into this. I'm kind of really seeing that what it kind of looks with somebody's energy field is, I'm being shown this, is when somebody is very reactive and impulsive and very emotional with a response they've done. And I just want to put a caveat in there right now. I am somebody like this, so this is very much useful for me as well. And in no way I'm saying there's anything wrong with this either, because I also like the fact that I have this ability with my emotions. So just want to put that out there because there's all these different components. But what I'm really being shown is when somebody is like coming from that very reactive emotional space, it's kind of like energy shooting out of their solar plexus. But not only that, it's like their fire energy is a ball of fire right in the very middle of their being. And funny enough, it's saying that even though it's in the center of that person's being, it very much pushes them off course, because it's kind of like so much energy pushing out in one direction that as a response, it kind of offsets where the energy came from, because it's kind of like as it blows out in one direction, it pushes the thing that it was coming out of backwards rather than keeps them grounded in one spot. And then interesting, what I'm being shown for somebody who uses their emotional energy in a way that keeps them centered is, although once again the energy still starts off in that circular place around the solar plexus, with like a bit of time, with some kind of like allowing the mind to also process the situation, I'm seeing that fire goes from being all the way in the center of the solar plexus to suddenly the fire is just the whole way around, like a silhouette around the person. So the whole like fringe of them, as it were, the whole silhouette is then got an edge of fire around it. And I'm actually being shown that is actually far more potent and powerful and way more grounding and stabilizing. And it actually means that actions or decisions that are taken from a place where a person's energy field is like that is far more balanced and almost like holistic, and it's way more centered and anchoring, and therefore generally it gets a much better response. The Akashic Records are also saying though that at times obviously it's useful for the energy to just fully come out of the solar plexus, but they're saying that usually that is a fight or a flight response, in which case where that sort of energy is used and it can be beneficial. And they're showing me the response of like animals in nature when they have to do that. But because humans have this ability to rationalize things and work with their mind, only on the rarest occasions is it really important to have that kind of solar plexus shooting out the energy, kind of fire energy. Most of the time it's far more beneficial to have the energy have a little bit longer so that it goes from the solar plexus and makes almost like an even border the whole way around a person's energy field. That then becomes a passionate, magnetic, confident, assertive, direct kind of person and action and decision. So that's just something to consider. That's really interesting. I've never been shown that before, but I can see how that makes sense. And definitely, like I say, I know I'm somebody, this is something I really have to work with within myself. So yeah, cool. Let's have a look. What else is going on? I feel like doing it this way a little bit. So what is going on for Scorpio message 3? Actually, you know what? I actually feel my body quite hot as well, just as I'm sinking in. And I do really feel I kind of definitely feel the solar plexus area feels really hot. I feel a little bit in the heart chakra, and then I also feel some tension in my root chakra. So what that's really telling me is I think there's going to be desires to change and to move situations, or even just to move energy or emotions within you. And it's just about making sure that you only get driven by that type of energy once your heart has got open, once your heart chakra is open. And there's something about some stillness that needs to go in between, like feeling the energy to move, to make an action, to do something. And also, but at the same time, having almost like a softness and an openness with that energy too. And that would be like the heart chakra being open. Let's just have a look though. So what's going on? Okay. I always have it where the spreads talk to me as well, like the layouts are always shown to me differently, so this is kind of interesting. Seems like a number of themes going off, but let's start at the top. So the first thing that we have is the Four of Cups. Then we have the Nine of Cups. Then we have Six of Matches. Okay, so a lot of emotional energy, and again, there's like fiery energy. Then we have the Seven of Cups. Okay, so emotional decisions that need to be made. Oh, I love this card. This is my favourite card in the deck. Here's the Sun. In this deck, I think this is always a super positive omen, so that's a really good sign, but we'll go into it. Wow, another powerful card. Then we have the Emperor. And then we have the Ten of Wands. Okay, so what we have here is we just have already a lot of emotional energy, water energy, and we also have a lot of fire energy, a lot of passionate type of energy. So let me just give me a minute just while I completely feel into this and see what is going on. Okay, so what I do really feel here is I can really see how in 2021, whenever you're listening to this message, there's been some emotional disappointment that's occurred. It's either occurred most recently or it occurred a while ago in your past. But either which way, it's currently impacting you and your energy field, and to some extent the belief systems that you're holding at this moment in time. What I'm also really seeing though is that it feels like on the brink of that changing and flipping. And I can see that, I don't know, there's almost like, there's something that's trying to come to you that you have not noticed, but it's been around you for a while. It could be a person, an opportunity, an idea, can be anything like that. And I'm telling you, it's been around you for a while, but you've not actually been able to see it. But something happens or is about to happen soon in your life, or it might even have just happened, where something caught you off guard, a bit like that boy going to the, oh, where did I put your crystal? There it is, the rock. A bit like that boy going to the neighbour's door to like play with the kid, and then nobody answers the door that he recognises and he's shocked by it. A bit like that. There's been something that kind of happened that sort of like it was almost a little bit jarring, and it was unexpected. And also, by the way, I'm not talking about the coronavirus or something like that. It's something, it might be as a result of that, but I feel like it's more personal, to do with you and to do with your soul story rather than collective consciousness, just so you know. But it might have sprung off there as a result. But either way, there's been something kind of jarring, but as something becomes quite jarring, it kind of almost knocks you off centre slightly. And as it knocks you off centre, you're then actually suddenly able to perceive things that you weren't able to perceive before. And then this is almost when your fate, as it were, your situation suddenly turns around. And that's when we get the Nine of Cups, which is like massive emotional fulfillment, and also the Six of Wands, which is literally known as the success card. But the really funny thing is, this good fortune, I can also see here with the sun, this set of good fortune that occurs, it actually originally stems from almost a melancholy, disappointed, not quite depressed, but definitely not feeling happy in any way. It kind of comes from that situation and something that occurs as a result that, like I say, jars you a bit, unbalances you, knocks you off center a little bit. But in doing that, it allows you to get this new awareness or see this new person or look for another opportunity in life. That's it. It kind of makes you look for another opportunity in life. And as you look for this another opportunity, essentially you find a lot of success and happiness out of this long term. And I can really see that with these 4 cards here, right in the center. We're going to put them there like that now. But there is a caveat with this that we just need to go through, which is it does involve you having to really resolve some emotional confusion about something. And it will be different things for all of you, but let me just tell you on the much deeper level so then you can find the right way and the words for you. It comes out of not really knowing what you really want. It comes out of that type of energy. Or if it doesn't come out of not really knowing what you really want, it's coming out of, because that's say like a half of you, but the other half of you, it is, just one second, what is it? Being unwilling to emotionally commit to something wholeheartedly. That's it exactly. So there kind of needs to be either, depending on which group you're in, or you might kind of feel like you're both, if you're in the kind of space of feeling like, just kind of feeling that you're not really sure what you want, then obviously you'll have to look at just maybe having a little bit of soul searching about what makes you happy, what makes you emotionally fulfilled. I feel like that's going to give you a lot of answer and a lot of guidance here. What honestly makes you feel emotionally fulfilled? And this is the thing, you do have Jupiter and Saturn, you Scorpios rising in the 4th house. And as I explained in the astrology earlier, the 4th house can definitely be about emotional fulfillment. And I do really feel like this is coming up for that pile that doesn't know what they want. It's all about understanding what makes you feel emotionally fulfilled, particularly as well, because we know one of the outcomes coming out of all of this is the 9 of Cups, which I described as the card of emotional fulfillment. So that is completely what's going on there, and particularly the 4 of Cups and the current situation, or what's led you to this situation from the past, is definitely emotional unfulfillment. With the 4 of Cups is that kind of word. It's kind of emotional stagnation. So that's for the one of the pile that doesn't know what they want. That's the way to go into it. But if you're the other pile where you're unwilling to wholeheartedly commit to something full on, it's really about asking yourself why. And I'm getting flagged up to this card here, the Emperor, and I'm seeing that this might be something about almost like a hesitancy to take on the responsibility of whatever this is that you're not willing to fully 100% commit into. But I'm also hearing, if it does feel like it's to do with that, and it feels like it is some kind of energy of being responsible, I'm hearing that actually this is just something you've just not really necessarily had any particularly strong role models to do with responsibility in your past. And it's definitely showing me back into childhood and like school environment and that kind of thing. And so the number one thing, if you do feel like that's you, it's definitely not to be hard on yourself, because this really is just a cause and effect of the environment that you've been in. But it is completely to now understand that you have the power to choose your response to this and what you want to do. And if deep down inside you know that this thing that you don't feel 100% happy to fully commit to, if you do know that deep down inside it would make you feel incredibly emotionally fulfilled, and ultimately it is something that you do really want, it is really about, I think you're just going to have to, I'm hearing like jump in at the deep end. it will just be a case of just saying yes to it and just working with your own kind of, any kind of self-sabotage behaviours that you might have. It's just kind of working with those to kind of take control of them and just be like, we're doing this is what I want, I'm committing to it. And I'm also hearing that it's just kind of like this working progress of you going with this. And I'm also really hearing that if you do commit to it, then the universe will really, really support you with this. Your spirit guides will, and also other people will come into your life to either give you important guidance to do with whatever this is, whether it's a relationship or a job or a business opportunity or whatever it is. You will actually see that you're attracting lots of people that can be really supportive to you. And I do feel like some of these people, with you guys having Uranus in the 7th house, this will be potentially people that come in quickly out of nowhere. And equally, again, they might disappear quickly out of nowhere as well. But they will have this important role with helping you achieve what you want to achieve. But first of all, you really have to get clear, and you have to be really ready to commit. And I can appreciate that might not be the easiest time to do that for many of the things that are going on externally, just collectively, but also with you having Neptune in that 5th house. Neptune, like we said in the beginning, it could have that feeling of being fickle. And that sort of energy as well, the fickleness that you might feel to do with certain commitments might be something it's something that feels a bit harder to kind of push through. But I mean, guys, completely, you can't have, the Sun and the Emperor, this really just tell me whatever it is that you're trying to create, or whatever it is that you're wanting to do, there's going to be a really successful outcome. And also as well with these cards here, the 9 of Cups and the 6 of Wands, like these are highly, highly positive and supportive, but also very, they've kind of got a very goal-orientated feel to them, because all of these cards individually feel like they have got what they want. Like the 6 of Wands is very much about external recognition. The Emperor really is about personal power and creating what you want. The Sun really is about enjoyment and enjoying everything that's around there and feeling a complete sense of satisfaction on every level. And the 9 of Cups is very much about feeling that you emotionally have everything that you want and it feels great. So that energy is all completely there. It's just that on the periphery of all of this, there is this thing about, like we say, emotional confusion, not sure whether to 100% commit to something, feeling a bit despondent, maybe feeling a bit lost, maybe feeling a bit sort of like maybe that you just feel like things aren't properly working properly, but then also this sort of intense energy that just feels like it needs to go somewhere and you don't know what to do with it. So that's very much on the periphery of what can be going on. But actually, once you just decide what you want and then commit, you'll be surprised how everything really starts to work out for you. And like I say, I can really see that there'll be a lot of people that kind of come in to support you just at the right moment, and it will feel, these people will feel really quite they'll feel like feels really fated in some way, very kind of synchronistic, and I feel as well like there'll be a meeting of minds when you meet these people. Again, just to reiterate as well what we channeled from the stone, my guides and your Akashic Records are really pointing out this card to me with the Emperor. Can you see the Emperor doesn't actually have a head? Where the head would be, you can see there's all these sacred geometry shapes, but absolutely straight above his head is the cube. This really, to me, once again, super reiterates that it's so, so important to be using your logical, analytical mind. I can feel this really, really powerfully. I'm feeling this thing about this sort of cup energy around here, and definitely obviously like the 7 of Cups for sure. This really can be a vibe of it's the sort of thing that my dad would sometimes say to me, because he's Capricorn and I'm totally not, and he'll sometimes be like, what you're doing is flaky. Like it has a flakiness to it. It doesn't really have this like really very kind of solid kind of feel to it. And you know what, sometimes there's nothing wrong with flaky and anything like that, but the Akashic Records are really saying to you, like, it's really, really important that you get very, very you really tap into your masculine energy. So being very logical, being very analytical, not taking things at face value, not jumping to conclusions. And also I'm getting this thing about poker, and I'm seeing like a poker match, and I'm seeing like it's really about not showing all your cards in one go, being very strategic, and also being very psychologically strategic. Now, I'm not saying manipulative, although let's be honest, we'll all do manipulation to a certain extent, but it's more like being super strategic psychologically. And I do feel like that's something that you can do, and I actually think you'll really enjoy applying your deep psychological, psychoanalytical kind of mind to whatever situation this is relevant to, and it will really be, I mean, that on its own could start to be very fulfilling, but I feel like it's going to bring many other things to you. But it's really hard for you to tap into this psychological, detective mind, like kind of curious mind, really being able to read people type of energy. It's quite hard to tap into that while you do have almost like the Seven of Cups and the Four of Cups type of energy, which is kind of, like look at these flowers here. Can you see that they look like they're wilting, particularly the two at the side? But there's one big rose here, which is the answer. Oh, sorry, there's three wilting ones there. But there's one big rose that has the answer. And that really feels like that this place of despondency actually leads to you to exactly what you needed to get back on track. So on the biggest scale as well, just understand that all of this is kind of part of the divine plan. And I want to say as well, this is a divine plan that you have totally, I feel like there's a group of you where a group of you have agreed to this before you came down. So there were certain things that everybody agreed to, and you agreed to this before you came down, and you planned it out and all the rest of it, but then you forgot about it when you came down. So it doesn't feel like free will, even though essentially it was, because your soul decided before you came down. The other pile of you, I feel like it's very much because of whatever you have been really having a real desire to manifest in your life over a number of years, and I'm seeing from 2018 onwards, something about that has actually brought this energy to you, because it's part of what you need to go through to get what it is that you really do want. So you need to work out which pile that you're in there as well, because they're kind of the energies that I feel with this. But yeah, it's just so positive in this center area. It's so positive. And as well, like I really do feel like these two positive cards came with these two energies that were a bit more challenging, and these two positive cards came with this energy that was a bit more challenging. And I kind of feel like, well, look, the way that it is, we've got two energies here, super support, like that's super positive. In this case, one that isn't so much. Well, obviously there's way more positive here. And then here we've got something which isn't quite so ideal at the moment, but with one of the best cards in the deck, and it's a major arcana, so that totally trumps that as well. And then here we have another major arcana, super powerful one, the Emperor, which also trumps this one. So it kind of feels like everything is going to go in your favour. And I suppose really, I think everything's already in motion anyway, but just by you hearing about this reading, I think it might help to give you some more clarity and some more, I suppose, reassurance that it's going in this direction that it needs to go, and that this is all happening in the best way possible. But I just wanted to go, my guys are like, go back to the poker game. We didn't say everything we wanted to say. So let me just go back to that poker game. So yeah, there's this whole thing about not showing all of your cards, being really strategic about what you're doing. But there's also something about really understanding, or this person in the poker game really understands their opponents, not just because they can read them psychologically in the moment, but because they understand the vulnerabilities and the insecurities of its opponents, and that also gives them an incredible ability to, I'm hearing, connect to those other players in such a way that it kind of changes the energy of the game, so everybody feels way more included. And even though clearly there's going to be one winner and the rest are going to lose, there's still a much more friendlier atmosphere and friendlier vibe about it, because of this poker player's ability to understand others' weaknesses and insecurities, but not make them feel bad about it. And by them relaxing about their insecurities, not only does that make the game a lot better and a lot happier, but actually also paradoxically, it also gives that other player a bit more of an edge, because essentially he's got the defenses down of his opponents. And I feel like there's something about that that's relevant to whatever is going on for you. This might be a case of you might be that poker player that needs to help understand the insecurities of someone else. And I also want to say this could be a situation. So when you look at a situation, this could be a number of different people involved in the situation, and it's about understanding the global insecurities of that situation, which will help you understand how to disarm it, and therefore how to lower everybody's boundaries so it's easier for you to move in the direction that you want to go at. That very much felt like relevant to work and business, and almost maybe a big family dynamic. But also, you could also potentially be one of the opponents, where it's potentially also about realising that it is important to drop your defences to some extent and realise that nothing can really be gained by being defensive in this situation. And actually, it's not about whether you get the outcome or that you want. It's more about how you play the game, and how well you play the game is going to depend on how the outcome is. So it's sort of like, and them seeing, if you were, let's say, one of the opposition, it's kind of like this concept that you might be the opposition in the poker game. You play a really good game, but you don't win. But you shone that night because you dropped down your barriers, and then somebody happened to see you playing that game, just really liked your energy, and then approached you later to do with something. Maybe they felt like, and this is in the metaphor, right? Maybe they felt like this person was very charismatic or very attractive in some way, or very intelligent, and let's just say maybe they wanted to collaborate with them in some way. Or maybe like write about them in a newspaper article, or whatever it might be. So it's kind of like you have to realise that if you are that opposition in that scenario, by dropping down your defences, there's so much more to be gained by keeping your defences up. Even if by dropping down your defences, you don't get the outcome that you had planned on, i.e. winning the poker game. But the thing is, on the bigger scale, you get exactly what you want and way, way more. And it all happened because it wasn't about winning the game or not. It was about, can you drop your defences and can you allow yourself to shine properly? And that's what I'm really, really feeling there. And I could just see all of that going off in this poker game. Whew. So yeah, I think that's something to be mindful as well, because I'm also hearing that the more that you can drop down your defences as well, the easier you'll find it to understand what it is that you really do want, and or really be able to fully commit wholeheartedly to whatever is going off. Because as well, like, it's really interesting, again, don't know why I've just moved the spread like that, I've been talking, but we have, so we go with it. It also just feels that, I do kind of feel that on some level, you absolutely do know what you do really want, and you absolutely do know what you want to 100% commit to. And I can also see that the outcome is that you absolutely will be committing to it, and it's going to bring a lot more stability into your life long term, whatever this is, whether it's a relationship, job, business, health goal, whatever it might be, friendship goal. I can see that it's going to bring you a lot of stability, but it is about allowing yourself to interact with life and other people in a much more, I'm hearing the words, liberated way. And it's also really understanding, and I think this is one of the concepts that will come through for you guys, because you have the North Node in Gemini in your 8th house. So 8th house is owned by you, Scorpio, so it's powerful for you. And this comes on about this communication that we picked up in the beginning of the astrology. Only for you, it feels more like not really about communication as much as, well, I suppose it is in a way, because it's communication with life and with the universe, but not from the way of like, oh, I'm going to chat to the universe and say what I want to manifest. No, it's way more dynamic and almost intellectually stimulating than that. It's kind of like I see you almost playing poker with the universe, but not in a way to like win or to lose, but to just kind of like be curious and to experiment and to see what works and see what doesn't work. And then I'm also now seeing a chess game, and I'm kind of seeing again you against the universe, or you playing, that's it. It's not you against the universe, it's you playing with the universe, you playing with life. And you're willing to, on this chessboard game, I see you trying out moves that you'd never tried out before. And even if you lose, you're like, oh, okay, interestingly, I learned about that move. Okay, cool. So now I'll try it another way. And then sometimes as well, I'm seeing you play new moves just to experiment, and you do win that game. And you're like, okay. And all of the time, whether you're winning or you're losing, whether you're getting the response that you want or you're not, you're gaining way, way more information about how you interact successfully with your external reality, i.e. with the universe and with life. And you get so much feedback coming to you that it really is going to put you in a huge place of power and a real place of authority within your own life, is what I'm really seeing. But I do definitely see that it comes from being willing to not know if something is going to work, but taking the action anyway, or doing the action anyway, however, only after you've really thought about this logically. Because I know it sounds crazy, but there'll be these situations that will occur where you'll just be like, okay, I'm just going to try this out and see what happens. And I do also feel as well, the way that you'll experiment with this potentially is I'm just trying to think, should I say this or not? My guides are like, yes, but I feel like, okay, I'm going to say it. It reminds me of this scenario, to give you an example of what happened with me a while ago, a very long time ago. I sold something to somebody and they were really, really happy with it. They kept sending me loads of messages saying how amazing it was. I heard from them for so many days, them just being like, oh, I love this was amazing, this and this and this and this and this. I was like, okay, cool, that's great, that's a satisfied customer, awesome. Didn't think about it again until I got a message from the company that I was using to obviously sell the goods through, and they said, oh, this person says that they never actioned this result, they never actioned to buy this, and so they want the money back. They were like, we will support you, but can you give us information to let us know what's going on with this, so we can back you up. My guides quickly came in and just basically told me this whole thing, which I think will be relevant to you, so obviously listen to this. They were like, the thing is, you've had a pattern of chaos and conflict in your life, and you've definitely had a pattern of somebody always coming in to try and take things away from you, like a power play basically. There's this energy of power play. So you know what, you can use this opportunity if you want to not even engage with this. Don't give it a second's thought. Don't even give them any advice to back up what you've done, because you know what you've done is right, and you know that essentially this is somebody else's issue right now. They're going through their own drama, and it just happens to be playing out into your kind of sphere as well. But just because it's playing out into your sphere doesn't mean you have to engage with it, particularly if you want to give a really strong signal to your subconscious mind and the universe that you no longer want to be involved in other people's dramas when you're not even slightly responsible for it. So I was like, oh, okay, then you might like this bit. They were like, look, watch this pick a card. So they randomly pulled up a pick a card for me from Supermoon Tarot. And I couldn't believe it. I chose 2 numbers in that pile. Each one was so specific to me and specific to business, and it 100% backed up everything my spirit guides were saying. And I was just like, oh my God, cool, I'm going to do it. So I did what they said. I engaged in absolutely nothing. This company then got back to me again and said, look, please, can you just give us information? We'll back your corner, etc., etc. And I just thought, no, I'm not going to do it. I made sure my energy boundaries were really solid so that none of my energy was leaking out to this other person, or they weren't draining off me anyway. So I maintained really good boundaries, and I just focused on my own thing. Then months later, it came back that they'd won the case. And I was like, okay. And they were like, oh, okay, so you need to pay that money. And then I was like, okay, cool. But then the thing was, I never ever heard from them ever again. Nobody told me where to send the money, what to do with it. So it just sort of disappeared, and I never had to do anything. And so I never even lost that case. It's that kind of energy that I'm talking about, where you just try something, you don't know that it will work, but you're coming from a place of like, okay, this makes sense, and I'm willing to try it, because I'm willing to try this because it's a new belief system that I'm wanting to implement into my reality. And it's that kind of energy that I kind of see you kind of working with and playing with, if that makes sense. And it is very much this kind of really Gemini, kind of curious, kind of like just wants to see what will happen. Like just do it different, just play it different. Let's just see what happens. But at the same time, my guides are really saying it is really important, particularly because you have this Emperor energy here, is that you're not just doing something different on a whim. You're doing something different because of a psychological understanding about your patterns from the past and how you want to create a different psychological pattern in the future, and therefore you apply the actions that will be relevant to that new psychological pattern in the future, and you take that action. But then at the same time, you don't take it personally whether it goes well or not, because either way you're still trying to implement a new pattern, and then you leave it up to the universe and life and whoever else is involved, and it's just like free for all, see what happens. So then you have it as more of a playful feel as well. So it's like be deeply psychological, be very, very confident on what you're doing and why you want to do it, be very practical, be very logical, be very linear, but also just enjoy the process and the experimentation of everything. That's what I'm really, really feeling with this. Yeah. And also I do want to say with this as well, there is this real thing as well about not taking it personally. If you're really going to start to go into this really kind of playful, experimental energy, it's definitely not about taking anything personally, because it is, yeah, it's just not about taking anything personally, and it's about not allowing other people's or other situations that are insecure in some way to tap into and to drain your confidence or your position of where you are. So I suppose it's also because we keep seeing things like, I keep seeing the poker games, I see the chess games. The other thing that I'm then seeing is I'm seeing somebody taking basketball. Somebody's about to do, like, somebody got fouled in the match, and therefore then they're being shown that they get to do a free shot, where if they get it, it's like 3 points or whatever. And the crowd of the opposition is all trying to put off the player that has to go for that shot. And it's kind of that kind of energy. It's kind of like being single-minded and very focused on what you're doing, so that you're not pulled out of alignment or distorted by the distractions that are going off around you, that are potentially just trying to stop you moving in the direction that you want in some way. But them trying to stop you, or the situation trying to stop you, however it works out, is not actually it's not actually anything, what do you call it, I want to say nefarious, but that's the wrong word. It's not actually anything malefic, that's it. It's nothing malefic. It's just almost like this playful reality where opposites come together to play a game and see which one comes out on top. And although that sounds like there's a winner and a loser, it's more just about the enjoyment and the atmosphere and the engagement that actually is the real energy that's going to be driving you into this successful, positive position, if that kind of makes sense. Yeah, I really felt like that. A lot of that just came out just like boom and like channeled, so I can't necessarily say any of that again, but hopefully you will remember all of that. Cool. So let me, now we just got a little message coming in, 1 second. Oh man, sometimes I think my guides are corny. What they're telling me to say. Okay, so this is what's just got channeled through. Obviously, if you know these readings, what happens is in the extended reading, we go into this in detail, pull some more cards about it, and we get some really kind of deep answers coming out. But what I just got here is, I got it from, they told me it's from this film, Sherlock Holmes, the young Sherlock Holmes, and it just says the game is afoot. And I'm actually hearing that goes bang in the centre of your reading. So obviously we'll go into that in the extended, and we'll pull cards around it. But now let me just get a couple more oracle. So, like I said to all the other piles for Scorpio, I was really, really drawn to get some shamanic cards out specifically for you guys. And actually for this pile, there does feel more of a kind of a shamanic kind of vibe as well. Like, and being able to co-create and collaborate with many different types of energies and realities. Okay, let's see. I actually feel like I want to pull, after this one, an extra card for you guys that I didn't pull for the others. And this also feels like it goes in the centre as well. So just let me move these up. It's so interesting as well. Your spread with these main tarot cards has just kept literally changing, and it's felt like the Akashic Records have been explaining other things by the positions that have come out. And obviously right now in this rainbow arc, it really just feels like actually this feels like a really kind of it feels, actually it reminds me of this, like a sunset, like the sun rising out of whatever we're getting from here. So anyway, we'll have a look. So we have the game as a foot. We'll go into that in the extended. Then we have, oh wow, Guardian. Funny enough as well, I was going to say this also seems a bit like a real protection kind of energy coming in. And then obviously we get Guardian. So that's interesting. So we'll go into that. And there was definitely this thing about letting your boundaries down or your guard down. Well, there's a thing about letting your guard down, like with the poker game, but also expanding your boundaries into the unknown with like playing with reality. So obviously we'll go into that in more detail. Oh, interesting. So now we have the Hunter. Then we have Spirit Keeper of the East. Then we have Cancer, but this is also known as the Lover's card in this deck. It says family matters, affection, loved ones, connection. Obviously we know that there is a big part of connection that's going off with the astrology that we chatted about. And then this one, I Honour Virtue. I love these cards, they're gorgeous. Cool, so what we will do is we'll now take this over into the extended. We will channel this crystal to see what's going on. We'll pull additional cards for whatever this like thing was trying to say, and then we'll go into way more detail with these cards. I'm really interested to see what we get out of the Hunter. That feels really potent and really powerful, but also obviously it's always interesting when we see the Lover's energy coming in, and so we'll definitely check out that and see where that's going. And then last of all, what we'll do is we'll pull a card from the I Ching and I'll just read it from the book, so you can just put your own unique meaning on whatever is being said. Cool, so I look forward to speaking with you guys soon. You can find me on Instagram on Abigail Grace Psychic, and that's also on Facebook. My other YouTube channel is also See It Like a Psychic. You might find that also useful. I go through lots of different things: shamanic, well-being, astrology, tarot, just generally my experience with lots of psychic stuff, spirit guides, etc. And then if you do want this extended reading, it's just on my website on abigailgracepsychic.com, so you can go there. Really enjoyed reading for you. This is so intriguing. I love how we've had poker, we've had chess, we've had basketball, and there's something about all that to me feels relevant to this Hunter card too. So we will go into that in the extended, and it'd be really interesting to hear what this is, because I'm really hearing that this is about an angel presence around you as well. So cool, I hope to see you in the extended, and I've loved reading for you, and hopefully speak to you guys soon. Bye! So thank you for letting me read for you. That was totally my pleasure. If you'd like the extended reading, you just need to go over to my website on abigailgracepsychic.com. I'll leave all the links below. There's the choice for you to buy one reading, one extended reading, or multiple extended readings, and there's different packages that you can go for, so that you can get the most out of it. Just bearing in mind that 2020 was crazy and 2021 is still very much a huge tipping point, and so much new energy is coming in. But when anything begins, there are always unpredictable moments. There's different things that kind of go off. So hopefully these readings, particularly if you use them in whatever way your intuition tells you to, you'll be able to get the most out of how you can leverage whatever situation you find yourself in 2021. Also, just bearing in mind that these readings are relevant anytime in 2021, and you can come back to these readings and you might find different numbers become relevant to you. So just be as creative and intelligent as possible with all of these readings so you can leverage any situation and you can do awesome, because I do believe we all can. Speak to you soon.